everyone. My name is Putty, and welcome back to another edition of the podcast. I am joined, as always, by our current affairs correspondent.
I thought I was the international affairs correspondent.
No, you're the one who tells us what's going on in wrestling right now, because I don't watch modern wrestling.
That's true.
Yeah.
Putty stopped watching modern wrestling after the invasion angle, in which, as a WCW fan, he was so bitterly spurned he couldn't bring himself to watch anymore.
Wasn't that the story I used to spin to you about Marshall? I'm sure I used to say that Marshall used to be super into wrestling, but he was like a big WCW guy.
No, I think you always told me. No, I don't think so.
I used to spin a meme. I made a meme story like that. It might not have been.
That's not something I've ever thought of about Marshall. So.
Yeah, you forget things quite quickly, though. To be fair, so.
Oh, that's bullshit. It's not like I had to write 11 pages worth of notes to talk about this stuff today.
I thought you were going to get to 20. Did you not make it?
I watched all 20 matches. I have 11 pages. All right, I have 12 pages of notes.
Oh, 20. Yeah, that might be where the number 20 is like stuck in my head. So today, ladies and gentlemen, to explain the premise, because it would be a little weird to have this hanging over my head without explaining exactly what's going on today. We
so confused.
We are going to bullshit a lot today because that's what we do. This is the podcast. But we do have a reason why we're here. We have something we were thinking about. I've been streaming a lot this week over at twitch.tv/Matsudaira. Link is in the description. We are actually streaming this podcast live on Twitch right now. I've been streaming a lot. We got into a little bit of an argument with my Twitch chat earlier last week about Randy Orton. And so I said to Tucker, hey, we haven't podcasted in a while. Maybe we should go watch like some of Randy Orton's best matches, come at it from a few different angles, and like really kind of like pin down what we both think about Randy Orton. And then also I kind of dabbled around in potentially inviting a big Randy Orton fan on to debate. But I think that's going to end up being you. So, never mind.
That's going to end up being me? I'm the big Randy Orton fan, am I?
I mean, that's my prediction given what you've been telling me this week. But we can get to that later. Either way, that's what we're talking about. If you would like to inspire future podcast topics, go ahead and check out twitch.tv/Matsudairo. And if you have a spare Twitch Prime, you can get a Frosure emote.
Come into the Twitch chat and just yell something at us about a random wrestler, and we'll have to watch 20 matches of theirs, because that is the law.
I only watched like 12 matches for this.
Yeah, you're not committed. You're not really built for this, Putty. But you can thank me for the glorious thumbnail and graphics you're seeing. I worked very hard on them, very hard. It took me 16 hours. I had to remove trim too. It was a really crazy time in Photoshop.
64 is telling us to watch 20 Shelton Benjamin matches.
Fuck, that's a good fucking idea. Damn it!
I disagree. So let's step away from Randy Orton for the start of this podcast.
He's right above you, buddy. Watch out. I should have put him on there somewhere.
He's on the thumbnail.
Creeping.
Ready to RKO me. So, what wrestling have you been watching from modern day since Mania?
Modern day, nothing since Mania. I'm still before Mania, technically, on my watch throughs of everything.
What stuff have you watched since Mania? Not necessarily that's come out.
Oh, since Mania? Mm-hmm. A bunch of Raws, NXTs, SmackDowns, and Dynamites from March.
What's a Dynamite?
That is the AEW TV show.
Well, that's so WCW.
I know, they're not WCW, don't worry, buddy. Dynamite.
So, anything stand out from that? Anything you've enjoyed?
Nothing over
even if
the
it's
top.
not a match, like even if there's stories that you're enjoying.
Nothing really, because a lot of things are very up in the air right now. There's not a lot of like wrestling even happening or build to wrestling even happening. It's kind of just here's like maybe 2 matches and like some vignettes, and we'll try to figure out what the hell's happening. Nothing over the top. I mean, Jake Roberts is still a pretty solid promo because he's getting my boy Lance Archer over. Everybody dies.
WWE have been declared an essential business in Florida.
I saw that. I was going to tell you that. I'm so fucking... Oh, Jesus. He just keep pulling those strings, Vince. Go ahead.
Vince doesn't even need to buy a private island.
He didn't probably need to declare the XFL bankrupt either, but...
Well...
You know.
Okay, so what's your thought? Do you want to explain the XFL situation to the folks since you brought it up?
So yeah, the XFL was doing pretty well. I mean, a lot of people really liked it. I'm pretty sure it was doing all right rating wise. Like it was better than expected. And then it was about 2 days ago. They laid off everyone. And then today they've officially filed for bankruptcy.
What do you think about that?
I think it's kind of weird. I don't know. There was obviously a lot of appeal from people. I never watched it, but I've heard it was a lot of fun from a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so the XFL will go down in history as always nothing. Like the thing that was maybe fun for a couple weeks in 2020, but
Do you think he'll bring it back again?
I think he's too old. I think if he was going with it, this would be the run. Like I don't think he can introduce it in like 20 more years.
Do you think Vince McMahon will ever die, though?
I think he will die. His body will die. I think he's already had a machine built just in case, like with his conscience in it.
Tyson Kidd the Machine?
Excuse me?
Tyson Kidd the Machine. Do you not remember that?
No.
You remember I spent like 2 months building up the return
shit. You're right.
of the machine.
Died. He just died. Yeah, we can rebuild him.
So what did you think of WrestleMania?
I thought WrestleMania was fine.
Yeah?
Its best stuff, obviously, was the stuff that wasn't in the ring.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I definitely think so. I think those two matches that were out of the ring are, like... I think the things that come close... I don't have my spreadsheet open in front of me. I really should when I'm talking about, like, specific stuff like that. Give me a second.
Uh-huh. The numbers guide you.
Well, they do. They remind me of what was good and what was bad, because I can't fucking remember, Putty. It's just established. I have the memory of a fucking elephant.
Elephants never forget.
Oh. is that actually the thing? Fuck. I forgot that. What do you know? Brian Zane was really good. Short, but really good, I think, to the point.
Much like Brian.
I guess, yeah. Of course, AJ Taker was phenomenal. John Cena, Bray Wyatt was, I think, good.
Yeah.
Question mark. I don't think anybody knows how they feel about that match aside from you. You're the only person I know who definitively has a take on it. Everybody else is like, I think it was fine, maybe. A lot of the other things were around average. The only thing that really, really, really sucked on the show was Edge and Randy Orton.
Ooh, yeah.
It just went far too long. That's the only thing. If they had gone like 18 minutes or whatever, going all around the building, that's great. It went like 38.
Yeah, it was one of the longest WrestleMania matches ever.
It's the second longest, FYI. Only behind the Iron Man match. No, it is. That's literally the numbers.
I see. That makes sense, yeah. I mean, we were looking at it a while ago, but we only had numbers from like 2013. But I don't really remember any matches afterwards that went like particularly long, except for maybe Taker Reigns. I remember going quite long. But yeah, I'm not surprised.
Somebody sent me a link to a WN article about it, comparing all the times, and yeah, it's the second longest in history.
That was WrestleMania 36 that just happened?
Yes.
Wow, it feels like it would have been later.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think partially doing our series, like the Brand Split series, really fucking confused me with WrestleManias, because I was like, wait, this is 34? No, 34 was like 2 years ago. Wait, no, that was 32? Wait. Oh my god. Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh.
Jesus, Reigns Taker was 33.
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
That's not that long ago. Even though it is, like, it just feels like fucking ancient to me, but also like it's recent enough. It feels like it's 5 years ago, at least to me.
It's not far off. It's 3 years ago.
No, but I just mean like, but once something like that happens, everything else gets thrown in proportion. Like, because 4 years ago was Triple H Roman Reigns. That's 4 years ago.
5 years ago was the cash in.
It's so fucking weird. I don't even know what happened at 34.
34?
Yeah.
Brock Reigns.
Oh, that's just the one where Brock just beat him.
Yeah.
And he unmade his hero. And it was just like, okay, he's not the face of this company. And then they're still going to push him as the face of the company. Whatever.
Kind of.
Well, yeah, away from the belt, face of the company. Well, he'd have the belt right now. But, circumstances are circumstances.
Would he? Wait. Would he?
He was set to fight Goldberg.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Braun beat Goldberg. I'm almost certain. Braun fucking beat Goldberg. Like, Braun Strowman.
I was just saying, when Vince shows up to a WrestleMania and he's got Roman Reigns versus Goldberg in front of him, he has it's that sweating meme with the two buttons. He's like...
they're the same picture.
So, good segue. So, what was wrong with Edge Randy Orton? Except for it can't just be the length. Was that your only problem with it?
Yeah,
wow.
Aside from the fact that I think a lot of the spots fell flat. They weren't as interesting as they wanted them to be. Because I think they were really banking on ooh, the Performance Center, that's new and different. We've seen it before, and we've seen it done better.
What other match had a bunch of spots that fell a little flat?
Is it?
It's Randy Orton versus Chris Benoit at SummerSlam 2004.
I'm gonna murder you!
So why don't we move on to that match?
Okay, we should set this up first.
Okay.
Do we want to run through all the matches chronologically?
It's up to you.
I would be down to do that. How many of them have you watched? You've watched 12, you said?
Hold on. I'll give you an exact count.
Okay, because I've watched all 20.
I have watched 13.
Okay.
I watched the first 2 and then the last 11.
Oh, great. So there's the dead period that I get to talk about. Amazing. Amazing.
There's some stuff in there that I think will be good.
Did you end up watching it?
Watching what?
You know what match I'm talking
about. Oh, the Iron Man match? No.
I fucking hate you. You betrayed me. I fucking watched it because I assumed you would too.
I wanted to watch Taker Orton because I think that's probably okay. And I wanted to watch Trips versus Orton Last Man Standing because I remember that being particularly good.
Okay, so do you want to... I have them all in order, right in front of me.
Okay, so I'll set it up. So basically, what we're going to do here in terms of matches, because we love spreadsheets, is I put together a short list of Randy Orton's 20 best matches using a mixture of...
CageMatch.com.
Cage Match helped, but I didn't just take the top 20 from Cage Match. Yes, I think so.
Nice. Good job, me. You know what I'm talking about.
Or maybe it's .net.
Fuck, I know nothing. I'm so fucking stupid. Stupid.
Cage Match was instrumental in finding this, but there is some weird stuff on there that I trimmed through. And also, a lot of Randy Orton's best matches are multi-man matches. So, for example, there are 6 Elimination Chambers and Royal Rumbles on there, and I just picked out the 2 Elimination Chambers that seemed important to Randy Orton's career and shit.
One of them was not.
Okay, interesting. So we pay. I used my judgment as well. It wasn't just the top 20 matches from Cage Match.
We weren't gonna watch 20 Rumbles.
True. And then I pitched to Tucker, okay, watch a minimum of 10 of these, and then I'll give you 20. And Tucker decided to watch all 20, which is good.
I said when you sent it to me, I was like, I'm gonna watch all 20. I don't care. I thought about giving up, but I didn't.
I plan on watching all 20, but I wanted to make sure I got all of the ones from the 2010s watched.
Right.
Because I can put those into my Match of the Decade project. And then from there, I just went from the start. And I got 2 matches in until I realized, okay, this is less good. Hopefully there's an increase during that quote-unquote dead period. So with that setup done, you wanted to go through them chronologically?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, wait, do you want me to run down all of them, or you want me to just talk, or what do you want me to do?
What do you want to do?
So Randy Orton fights Cactus Jack in a street fight. I don't have the dates or the shows down. I literally have...
It is the 19th of April, 2004 at Backlash.
Backlash. Okay. So, maybe you should start. I don't know. I don't know how to start
I
necessarily.
really liked this. I thought this was a
liked it
really
too,
fun
yeah.
match. I thought this was all smoke and mirrors, though. I thought it was a really, really like there was very little of substance here, but the smoke and mirrors was really well executed upon because I guess Mick Foley knows how to do it. Orton is good here. His facials are fantastic. There was one. I don't like to pick out like dumbass spots all the time because it's wrestling, but there was a particularly dumbass spot in this match.
I know it won.
Yeah, you do. It's when Randy Orton tries to RKO him onto the fucking thumbtacks.
Buddy, you were gonna get hurt either way. Why are you that shocked? I somewhat tried to kayfabe it in my notes here. I'm like, Orton tries an RKO into the tag. Speezy doesn't care if it would hurt him. He cares about hurting Mick Foley. It doesn't work. I'm like, it's just a dumb fucking spot for the visual. Which is fine. I mean, whatever. You can suspend disbelief and just say, I don't know, Orton was really obsessed with trying to beat Mick Foley. And then something else that I pointed out was that Orton's actually the one that introduces the tax, and you don't try to beat a hardcore wrestler at hardcore wrestling. That's how you get yourself fucked up.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think another spot that I felt like kind of there was a sequence that I think exemplifies this match perfectly, and it's when Orton takes the nasty bump off the stage. Really good spot.
I fucking freaked out at that. I didn't expect him to take that crazy of a bump, and all of a sudden he just fucking died. I was like, holy fuck.
Orton takes the nasty bump off the stage. It's really well done. It's exciting. It's a spot that was built to and executed. It's one of those things I always point to that's like, oh, that wasn't done just to pop. That was actually like a satisfying spot. And then it's left to breathe for way too long. Like, there's a huge, like, gap where, like, Mick Foley's doing nothing. And that would be okay if the next thing was, like, a slow escalation. But instead of that, Foley just jumps off the fucking stage, like, 10 minutes later for no reason.
Well, he does. That's his finisher.
Yeah, but he waits, like, 10 minutes to do it.
Yes.
Like, so at that point, you've got to start building again, and he doesn't. And so it doesn't hit at all. Nobody gives a shit. And so, yeah, and that one falls completely flat. He also hits it really weird. Like, he immediately just jumps off him. Or something.
Well, he has to go for, like, distance over impact, obviously, because Orton's so far away. It looks...
Well, he's not that far away. Foley's just not very good.
Listen! Alright, leave, like, 39-year-old Mick Foley alone.
38. Right? He wasn't that old at the time. You said that. I remember you saying, like, oh, he doesn't look that bad. And I looked at his age. I looked at his age, and he's like, he's in his prime. Like...
Yeah, well, Foley obviously
not his prime, but he's in like a prime age.
Foley took a lot of time off of himself, but I have written down here. Oh shit, where is it?
While you're looking for that, let me just like finish with my take on the rest of the match. The rest of the match is literally just pop a spot. They don't build to anything else. Everything in the ring is just, okay, we've ran out of ideas. Let's throw you onto a barbed wire fucking table. Like, the rest of the match is pure smoke and mirrors. Substitute story or build for random spot. It's like pure WWE smoke and mirrors. It's a very good WWE smoke and mirrors match. I really did enjoy this match, but it is nothing more than that. That is what its ambition was, and it achieved it. Cody Rhodes would be proud.
He's plodding over there in the corner with his sledgehammer, his own sledgehammer. He uses a sledgehammer, by the way. Yeah, he uses a sledgehammer because, it's about changing the industry or something. It's like, you realize what you... Okay. Okay, I'm trying to look for anything here that I have. Did you catch in the very opening, Foley's heading towards the ring, and Orton has his like knockoff version of the barbed wire bat, and it just immediately falls apart. Like by the time it's already just a board. I'm like, oh, it's amazing.
Oh, I liked another spot I really enjoyed was Eric Bischoff coming out.
Yeah. No, we're not doing that shit. You're gonna just take it off the air.
Yeah, it wasn't even that. It was like, but Bischoff wasn't like, I'm not gonna let you do it, Foley's like, I'd like to let you set Orton on fire, but the fire marshal will come down.
Yeah. He will take us off the air. If you have a problem with that, you can take it up with him. I pointed out at one point, I'm like, the starting at least feels really similar to some of like the Rock Foley hardcore matches in the later 90s, but I think Orton lacks the buckets of charisma that Dwayne Johnson has to really like sell it super well.
What's weird is that to an extent, like his nonchalance is a really important part of his like later good work. But here, he's so much more charismatic. Like, his facials are really good.
Absolutely. He's like, it's really jarring, I think, like, as you go on, to see him, like, he almost starts to lose that charisma in favor of being like, I'm a cold, calculated snake person. I can't show emotion. Like, and I'm like, please don't do that. Just be yourself, because you're much better like that. So other things that I have here, a decent spot where Orton sees the barbed wire board. He's being punched, and he turns and he catches it out of the corner of his eye, so he knows that he needs to move and reverse it instead of just falling back. I pointed out, and you're gonna like laugh at this, but it's something that I actually noted on myself. I'm like, maybe there's some weird parallel here to be drawn between Orton and Triple H, since both are level up feuds here. We're kind of involving Cactus Jack in hardcore matches, kind of starting already to plant that seed, which they're not that far out from actually executing on. So it's not totally like unplausible. And the other thing that I've written here, this one you're gonna laugh even more at. I'm like, it's kind of cool that like Orton's pyro is like a rain of like gold behind him, and now his back is like a rain of gold from all the taxing out of him, because it shimmers in the light as he moves. It's so nice looking. It looks so nice. It's such a good fucking visual. I love it.
Also, that fucking like that little like board of barbed wire is so stupid.
Oh, literally. It's like, somebody had to put that down there. Like, because typically, right, it's like, whoa, where'd they get that weapon from? Like, it's like, somebody put that down there. I also loved, at the very end, after the finish, supportive father Ric Flair coming down to collect Randy Orton, like, holding his belt up for him, being like, he's the champ! He's the champ! I was like, oh, it's so nice!
I didn't watch that far.
Oh, he does. Like, Batista comes down and, like, collects him, and Orton's like, you're good! You won! You won! That's all that matters! He's like, you got the belt! And Orton's kind of like, oh my fucking god, and Ric Flair's like, he's the best! He's the fucking best! It's so fucking good. Like, Ric Flair is the best supportive dad. Like,
also, one thing I noticed on this show, and it's obviously not, like, obviously the reason for it isn't the storyline reason for it, but it's still funny to me that the main event is listed as Triple H and Shawn Michaels compete in a triple threat match for the World Heavyweight title.
Perfect.
Alright. So, how did you feel overall about this match?
I thought it was good. Yeah. I definitely get the spoken miniature you're talking about. There's no like overt story necessarily within the match outside of the stuff where Orton tries to get hardcore and then
and even if it was, they don't pay it off at all.
No, it's definitely not like the focus. You're not supposed to like the stuff that I'm talking about. Like, oh, Orton's gonna RKO him because he doesn't care about hurting himself. Like, that's obviously like reaching clearly, but like it's an attempt to like try to give meaning to something that might not, because it's just kind of stupid. The only other
I need
thing...
to change the name of the stream. I'm gonna do that.
It's all good.
Go ahead.
I also pointed out that, as I stated, there's a couple of these notes here early where it's like very similar to this. I wrote down, this is a Mick Foley match about Mick Foley and where he is in his career that kind of happens to contain Randy Orton as a foil for him. This match is very much about Mick Foley to me. It's about Mick Foley showing that he can still, like, you know, do all the hardcore shit he used to do, compared to Orton, who's kind of just there as like, I'm gonna beat you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's fine. It's just, he's not the focus of this match, nor should he really be. It's about Orton. It's about showing that Orton's tough, obviously. Like, it's supposed to level him up by showing that
he's a man.
Oh, JR comes over like crazy. He's like, oh, this kid, man, I may fucking hate his guts, but man, he's so tough. He's so tough, man. Like, oh, he's so tough. I'm like, shout out, JR.
On a run of like on a year-wide basis, like if we were coming to the end of 2004, would this be in any discussion for any sort of like memorable part of 2004? Even as a just as a part of like Randy Orton's year, as a part of Mick Foley's year, as a match.
Oh, absolutely, Mick Foley. It probably would end up being his highlight of the year. I'm not sure he did much else that year.
But would he? It's a highlight of his year, but would he have been considered one of like the strongest performers of the year?
Oh no, absolutely not. No.
So does this match really, like, in the grand scheme of things across history, does this match really have any like weight?
No.
Okay.
Outside of Again, the thing that I already kind of mentioned, where it's obviously meant to establish Orton as being tough. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's supposed to show that he's, a pretty boy, but he's also like he can fight. I don't know.
Okay. I don't think it pays any of that off at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, come on! It's literally like right there. He like takes all the bumps in the match.
Yeah, but like they don't build to any of them though. They're just spots thrown in there randomly. Like it's not. They don't escalate that to show the story of him like taking tougher and tougher bumps. They don't have those kind of lead to positive effects for him or anything like that. It's literally just whenever they feel like they're losing the crowd, they throw a random bump in.
That might be fair.
Okay. The only exception is the bump off the stage, which I will give full credit for. But that's
I thought that was just going to be the finish. Like it just felt like that's the biggest thing we can do. And then they just kind of walked back towards the ring, like 2 more moves, and then Orton just hit him with the finish, and that was that. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess. Also, I pointed out the RKO on the barbed wire bat looked really shit because he has to like get his shoulder down far enough so that Foley's face hits it. I mean, whatever. They obviously had an idea in mind and executed it.
I think it probably suffers as well from WrestleMania 22 being just a better version with Foley and Edge, I think it is. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that match is...
that match feels like everything they were trying to do with this match, but with better
It's very
spots.
much... Yeah, definitely. And I think it's just because... I want to say like Edge plays better into that environment. Like I think just even his moveset is a little bit more equipped to that, like versus Orton's, which is very like I don't know. I just don't think it is. I just don't think it's equipped to necessarily do like tacks and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because obviously there's a lot of like gimmick matches in here, which might say something. But
what, the Orton thing?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say this is a lot.
I would say... How many is it here? I literally have it written down.
We can see from my... It'll count for you. 9 of the 10. 9 of the 20.
Yeah, that's... I would say that's like around 50%. That's a large amount.
I wouldn't because, like, especially since he worked for the WWE the entire time, I think most people's higher up echelon matches will tend to be feud enders, and in the WWE, most feud enders tend to be gimmicks.
That's fair.
I think if you look at John Cena's matches, he will have a higher percentage. There will be a lot of last man standing matches, some I quits, steel cages, Hell in Cells.
Iron Man.
Taker, like 80% of Taker's best matches are going to be gimmick matches. It's true. Edge.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Edge might be 100% in his top 20. Yeah. The Taker match at WrestleMania 24 wasn't a gimmick match, I guess, right? So it might have been no DQ or something.
I think it might have been no DQ because I remember the Edge heads getting involved in that. So.
And Charles Robinson running to the ring.
Yes, look at him go.
Oh no! Apparently it is a singles match. So there you go.
Oh, never mind. Maybe they don't get involved.
They do get involved, but overbooking.
Oh,
schlock.
Overbooking. Oh.
So yeah, I guess. How important do you think this match is then?
To either man's career? Not really at all.
In the grand scheme of in your evaluation of Randy Orton, I guess.
In my evaluation of Randy Orton, I mean, I think it's, and I don't know this for a fact with the numbers. It might be the best like hardcore match he does.
I obviously strongly disagree, but
you obviously do, but
because I have what my favorite match he has is a street fight, so
just gotta make sure that's
a
singles. Yeah, I think that's absolutely his best hardcore match. I think on here, for me at least, not counting. Because maybe this is better. No, that is the best hardcore match that I have for him.
I haven't seen it recently, so I can't justify this one. But I think the last man standing with Triple H is better for me. And obviously we're gonna get to it later. But he has a street fight where it's that's a very hardcore match where they pay everything off. So I'm obviously in strong disagreement on that one. Yeah, I can't see that one. But you've said that you think that the hardcore spots tell a grander story than I think they're paying off, and that's probably a reasonable justification if you go with that.
I'm not sure necessarily it's paying it off in the match, but I think the larger story at play is that Orton is.
Well, does that make the match better then?
No, the individual match, no, not at all. No, I don't think if I did try to say that made the individual match better, then I apologize.
Well, you said it was the best hardcore match he had.
Well, it is, yes.
But you're now justifying it by talking about a grander story.
No, not because of that, no.
Okay. All right, cool.
My justification for this being the best hardcore match is that it's the one that doesn't fuck around. It does the most hardcore spots. When you're going into a hardcore match, if you're not going to tell a story, you're doing spots, and this is the absolute...
well, I would argue that two later hardcore matches do hardcore spots, and they actually pay them off. But we'll talk about those matches more in detail later.
Yeah,
you clearly don't like them as much as I do. So with this next match, I think I'm just going to say my piece on it and then let Tucker talk, because I just don't think there's a bridging of a gap here. So this is Chris Benoit versus Randy Orton at SummerSlam 04. I think this begins a long tradition of Randy Orton underperforming at SummerSlam and taking the shine off of potentially rising or otherwise like solidifying runs that would most disastrously reoccur 10 years later. I think this match was okay. It is, what I will say about this match is that I think it is the best version of this match, and that is kind of the late 2000s, even though this is in the early 2000s, this was a preview of what we would get in the late 2000s, WWE style match in which they are building to a number of spots while putting like their bodies through, this is incorrect. So they're building to a limited number of spots while spending the least amount of time possible actually working towards those spots. And in this match, the reason why I don't like it, I don't think it's a good match, I think this isn't a good match, it's an average match, is that those spots just don't pay off. The crowd wasn't into them, the workers weren't good enough on the night to build those spots up. There were a few really good spots. That's why I really like this match as a version of what it is. Like the dive to the outside, a few of the false finishes, a few of the submission moves, and the actual finish. The finish is a real problem for me because it's such a good spot that it's not smooth enough to be executed properly. All of the spots were great ideas. They do try to build to them, but they just fail to do it. Like, it's one of those things where I agree with the way they put the match together perfectly. I just don't think either guy was charismatic enough to build to those spots and pay them off satisfyingly. Nothing about this match to me was satisfying. And I like both guys to some extent, but this was just not for me. Like, it was very primarily built around certain key moments. Those moments fell flat, and those moments weren't satisfying. And so that's why this is in my opinion the worst match on the list, and by a reasonably sizable margin. Now you can go ahead and tell everyone why you love it.
So this is the best match I've seen in this entire list. It's fucking phenomenal. These two fucking get wrestling. Benoit opens this match by doing the first thing a technical wrestler should do. He works the neck for the crossface. It makes total sense. You know exactly why he's doing it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He later on starts to work the shoulder as well, which would also involve the crossface. It also weakens the RKO. He's a fucking genius. It's so fucking good. Orton and Benoit actually start by out-wrestling each other back and forth, and Orton actually starts to take control, and he starts being kind of cocky about it, because he fucking knows he's somehow out-wrestling like a wrestling god in Benoit. And he actually kind of starts to get the better of it until Benoit's the first one who uses a strike. He kicks Orton like in the gut, and that kind of takes us out of that first initial phase of kind of working the shoulder and the neck, which I really liked. I liked the idea of Benoit being this really great technical wrestler being like, oh, fuck, I have to resort to strikes to beat this guy. So Orton starts to gain the advantage back now, but he's overconfident, and that allows Benoit to regain control. That's a thing that is all over this, and it actually leads to me like deciding something in the Bryan matches, and we'll get back to that later. I said there's very clearly a larger story unfolding here, and I really like it. It's the fact that Orton is really fucking good. He's just a cocky dickbag who like can't fucking stay on top of shit, and he allows other people back in. That's my thing for Bryan later, but I even start to hint at it here. Orton is constantly out wrestling Benoit, and his overconfidence allows him to take back over. So that's Benoit putting in the sharpshooter. Orton reverses it into the sharpshooter and gets cocky, and then gets caught in a crossface. Orton tosses Benoit's neck into the post twice to soften it up for the RKO. And then Benoit further softens up his own neck by eating a barricade off a suicide dive, which was fucking terrifying. Like, anytime I see Benoit take some kind of blow to the head or neck, I'm always just like, fuck. Because it always seems like it's like the nastiest fucking shit imaginable.
Well,
like,
it's not just, it's. I don't think it's you being like, for any of, like, I don't think that's a fair characterization. That bump was gnarly if anyone took it. He was fucking stupid as fuck.
I just mean it's Benoit, so it's even more like shit. Orton kind of gets really violent after a little while. He does like a neck snap at one point, and he starts doing his repeated punches. And it starts to kind of show off his hot temper, which becomes a definite character trait as we move on.
Actually, no, you should finish, but I want to come back to one of those points.
Okay. So Orton starts doing a bunch of headlocks, which, controversial opinion, Randy Orton headlock wrestling is fucking great. He's working the neck for the RKO. It makes total sense why he's doing it. I get it. It's boring. It's not that, like, entertaining, but I think it makes sense, and thus it's the best fucking rest hold for him to go to. I said this is very clearly a Chris Benoit match, but it's about Randy Orton this time. It's about Randy Orton being, like, a really good technical wrestler on par with one of the best. So Orton's slowly winning the crowd over as the match goes on, actually. They start cheering him more and more and more. Orton does a fucking fading, like, the 3-arm spot like Hogan would used to do and powers out. And I'm like, he's such a fucking babyface. He uses a knee to block a headbutt, the headbutt from the top rope from Benoit. He uses a knee to do it, which damages Benoit's neck even more. Benoit's instinct is to lock in the crossface, which Orton fights out of. Benoit just tries to go for it again, one too many times, hits the RKO. One RKO, finishes the job because he worked the neck the entire match. It's great fucking shit. And then Benoit turns Orton face by respecting the man who simply out-wrestled him. Orton's the better wrestler. He doesn't cheat.
Can we both agree that Randy Orton is a terrible striker?
Yeah, they're not great.
Especially his stomps.
His kick to the gut is okay.
Oh, yes, no! Yes. Oh, the kick to the gut in the corner is the worst.
Not in the corner.
Okay, all right, fine.
Just standing. Just
all
standing, I think. He puts a little on.
Anytime I see Orton go to the corner, every time he goes to the corner and starts stomping, I'm like, oh, it's over, it's over, it's gone, oh, it's bad.
No.
Okay, so before I kind of ask you what you think about this match, like,
destroy me.
Broadly, I'm not going to destroy you. I don't want to deal with most of that. And in fact, I'm not going to attack any of your premises directly. But there is one premise I'm going to deal indirectly with, and that is that I think working the neck as a prerequisite to the RKO completely destroys the psychology of the RKO. I think it completely ruins the way that any time it works well. Like, the whole point of the RKO is a good piece of wrestling psychology. If it's suddenly like, oh, working the neck will make it stronger, that's awful. I think that completely ruins what makes the RKO fun in a match. Like, that completely ruins the idea of this is a deadly finisher. The whole point of working something is to make it a more painful, like, later for submission holds or something, or to, like, weaken them when they're trying to go for something themselves. Like, to me, if, like, working the neck is completely antithetical to fun Randy Orton matches. Like, I can never see that working in any context. Like, I didn't even think about it in this one because I didn't even notice that. But yeah, I just think that's like, honestly, to me, it completely works antithetical to how the RKO's psychology ever, like, is fun. And if you look at, like, the opposite matches, right, matches where Orton is more deadly, that's where I think he's more like it's way more fun. Especially since Randy Orton's also really bad at it. Like, the headlocks are boring as fuck.
Yes, his headlocks are fucking boring. They're atrociously boring.
I said this to Tucker, and I genuinely stand by it. Randy Orton shouldn't do any other move but the RKO and the dropkick. That should be the only moves Randy Orton does.
It's a beauty fucking dropkick. It's so fucking nice.
It's very pretty, yeah. It is. So there's a reason why I compare him to Kazuchika Okada.
I think what you're saying about the RKO is definitely fair. I almost wonder if I really like this kind of build to a match, and maybe Orton's just not the guy to do it. Now that you mention that, because it's a really good point you're making. The big appeal of the RKO now, I'm not sure they were so high on it then, was the idea, right? Oh, it comes out of nowhere or whatever.
Well, I'd say it's not even it comes out of nowhere. It's that, like, it hits so hard. Like, and that was it's more so then because less people were kicking out of it. Than it is like now. And it's the whole thing with finishers. We've always had this disagreement with finishers, right? You think, I don't know, it's like, to me, like, the idea is that they're the reason why they're so good is because they're like particularly like powerful. Not like, that's the psychology behind them. Not that they're this like wrestling tool, like, to be used to finish a match. You know what I mean? Like, I think the whole match should be built around the guy trying to make his finisher the finish, whereas to me the finisher should be the finish. Like, you shouldn't have to put the work into it to, like, you know what I mean? Like your idea is like, oh yeah, I need to set up for this. But if you need to set up for it, then you should be using a different move. Something, because other guys, like, Big Show doesn't need to set up to punch you in the face. So just put, like,
Big Show's work in the face, everybody.
Exactly. And I see Orton's RKO as one of those type of moves where it's like, okay, you know, he's the reason the whole match is tiring you down so he can hit that. And if you kick out once, he's just going to hit it again, and then later he has another strike. And the same thing, Orton doesn't need to work the neck to punt you in the face. If he punts you in the face, you die. That's how the punt works. And like to specifically address the neck thing, like, obviously working the neck doesn't make the RKO easier to hit, but also I don't even know if it does more damage. Like, the RKO is designed to knock you out, not collapse your neck. Like, I don't know.
No, it's a neck thing. He pulls you down the mat by your neck.
Yeah, but like the impact is you being knocked out long enough to actually pin you. It's not that your neck collapses.
No, I think the idea is that he pulls you down by the neck, and you're hitting the mat on, like, your neck, on, like, your throat type area. Like, your head, your neck.
So you're just in pain.
Yes.
And that's why you don't kick out.
You're stunned.
Oh, I see.
Poison from a viper.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Point me, everybody. I did it.
Tucker destroys Putty with facts and logic. Okay. 2004. Where does this rank for you? Like, how significant of a match is this to put, like, Randy Orton WWE on the radar?
Oh, it's massive, right? Like, first world title win, youngest world champion in history. Like, it's so important to...
As a match, though.
As a match?
Yeah.
I really like it a lot. Like, I think it's probably the best Randy Orton match I've ever seen. And I don't know if that's just because I really like this one specific story, because this is what I kind of like in wrestling, when people work towards things and they work down different body parts to slowly work for a move. And I definitely get what you're saying with the RKO. Like, it's way better when it hits out of nowhere. The literal finish of this is it hits out of nowhere.
Yeah. And I love that finish, by the way. And can you agree that it's not as crisp as these guys could have made it?
Absolutely not. No, dude, I was literally like, oh, shit, he hit him. Like, because he kind of, like, goes for it, goes behind, kind of grabs it, not really, the arms, oh, shit, he hit him. Okay, dope. Like, it's very much like a...
No, I like the mundaneness of it. They're just, like, they're a little clunky. Like, they just don't hit it very smoothly, I found.
Yeah, no, that's what I was trying to imply there.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I think Orton could just, like, grab Benoit's head, but Benoit grabs his arm, and the arm's kind of out of position, so they have to, like, bring it back over, and then Orton kind of hits him with it. It's definitely, like, my first impression was definitely like, ooh, that was...
And I should also probably clarify that I do like that type of story a lot when it pays off, but I just don't think, like, the RKO works for it. Like, for example, like, one of my favorite Flair archetypes is when he doesn't get anywhere with the figure four, but then when a guy's going for a big move, his leg, like, buckles and Flair rolls him up. I really love that.
But, god,
yeah, but, like,
fucking Flair, love him.
Flair's one of my favorite guys too, and that's one of my favorite archetypes from him. But I just don't see, like, I don't see that as being, like, I don't see that in this match, and, like, you know, that's not to take away from what you liked about it.
No, it's interesting. Sorry to cut you off, but I was gonna say, like, what you have said is definitely correct. Like, I definitely, like, feel exactly what you're saying. Like, the RKO is a different move that should be treated differently. But I still really like this, and it doesn't change my opinion on that, which I think is the most interesting thing, that I can, like, agree with you that, like, this is not the best story for this move, but I still really love this story, and how they did it was the best possible way you could have done the idea of building to the RKO. And obviously Benoit's not, like, a big, like, guy or something like that, where he'd have to work it down on him or something like that. So I don't know. Anytime I kind of think about that, maybe it doesn't work as much. But I really like this story and what they're going for here.
I think this is a healthy way to kind of see the subjectiveness of wrestling. Like, I identified that this match was built on spots landing, and you don't necessarily disagree with that. They just landed for you, whereas they didn't land for me.
Yeah,
and they didn't land for the Canadian audience.
No, the Canadian audience pops twice, and it's like one time when Orton just like waves his arms a couple times, they're like, "Hooray!" And then it's right at the end when he shakes his hand, they're all like, "Hey!"
Be a man.
Baby face Orton.
Be a man.
I wrote down in quotes, "Be a man."
I was like, and I will say, I wanted to make this point as well. I love the booking. I think the booking is really good. I just don't like the match. Like, I think, I think
there you go.
Yeah, this was if you capitalize on this gives you Orton a lot of forward momentum and stuff like that. The booking's great. Benoit's the angle afterwards is really good. It's just like the match isn't.
I wrote down "Be a Man," thinking I'd come back to it eventually and like start echoing it in certain points. No, it never comes up again. Like, that idea never comes up again.
I like the booking so much that I want that to be part of the El Pud character in the RTG. That's how much I like the booking of this match.
This is going ahead, and I mentioned this kind of when I talked to you. I wanted it to kind of echo in the Elimination Chamber, like if Orton even looked at Batista at some point and yelled at him, "Be a man," like, you know what I mean? Like, just something like that, because that works so well in that spot, you know what I mean? Like, the idea that Batista's this mindless animal, and, you know, be a man, and it's like, oh fuck, like, you know what I mean, I should go off on my own, or anything like that. They barely fucking interact.
Yeah, so I think we're past the SummerSlam match for now. I want to come back to it since it is your favorite match of the list, but we'll do that at the end. However much you want to cover the next few matches is up to you.
Okay, it'll be varying degrees, I guess, how much I like it. The Elimination Chamber 05, I think, is really, really cool, because it's a lot of different storylines, kind of all verging at the same point. Benoit and Jericho open. Benoit and Jericho don't really have anything between them, but they're just trying to wrestle each other. I kind of made a point, maybe Benoit is like a technical measuring stick here. Everybody in this era wants to test their wrestling skills against him. Noticed it with Orton, noticed it with Jericho. Benoit again throws the first strike. Maybe he's not that good at grappling. Then the first pod to open is Triple H. He goes right after Benoit because he was the 04 title run. Makes total sense. Benoit also acts as a reminder of the failing state that Evolution's in, because he was the one who told Orton to go off on his own, and now Batista's looking more and more and more like he's going to go on his own. It was at that point I saw Ric Flair he just stands on the outside and kind of just goes, "Woo, Hunter!" Like, I'm like, Jesus, he's the best supportive dad. Unless you're actually one of his kids.
Whoa.
First use of the cage is Triple H on Benoit. Jericho's literally described by JR as the other man in this match. I fucking laughed out loud because he just exists. Jericho provokes Batista, and I said, let's see if that's followed up on later. It is. So Edge comes in next. He goes after his former tag team partner, Benoit, first. Then Orton comes out. That's literally all I have. Then Orton comes out. He targets Triple H. Benoit RKO or counters the RKO into crossface, which is an interesting playback to what happened at SummerSlam, where Orton countered a crossface attempt to the RKO. Triple H comes over while Benoit's in the when Orton's in the crossface and just starts yelling at him, and Benoit's like, "Wait a minute, I hate you too!" And then like lets go of Orton, starts attacking Triple H. So Edge tries to take the opportunity to spear Orton, but he hits Shawn Michaels, which starts their feud off.
You're supposed to be my friend, Edge.
Shawn's the ref, FYI.
Oh.
Yes, so it's immediately like, Jesus.
Oh.
Michaels and Jericho do combo offense on Edge, which I thought was a nice nod to their, like, we're the same person feud from 19. Then was constantly focused on Triple H this entire match. He suicide headbutts Triple H from the top of the cage. Then there's a Walls crossface combo onto Triple H. Batista comes out. He just starts fucking killing everyone. Drops Orton. Chooses not to strike Triple H. I just have written down here, Batista is fucking lit. Like, he's just destroying everyone. But Orton and Batista actually are like super violent towards each other, which I said maybe Orton thinks Batista won't turn on Triple H ever because he's a big puppet. And then that's pretty much all that I have from there. I mean, you have the amazing, like, massive heat for Batista being eliminated. They're so fucking pissed, the crowd. They're like, boo! Which, like, geez, we're that close to Mania, folks. You know it's not going to happen there. Yeah, that's pretty much all that I have on that. I mean...
Okay, I had an idea in the middle of that.
Go ahead.
Right after that, instead of jumping to Orton Taker, to talk about the other Elimination Chamber match.
Sure, that works.
So what did you think about the other Elimination Chamber match?
I have it rated better, but not because of anything Randy Orton did. Orton does so little in this match.
So do you want me to drop a hot take?
Go ahead.
This is the second best Elimination Chamber ever. It might be the best one.
Is it because of Randy Orton?
No, but Randy Orton does play a part, and he does everything right. He's perfect in this.
He does. He definitely does. He's just such a small part. But, like, I can't say, like, it's... I don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's, like, part of him. Like, the big moment for me is Kofi pinning him, obviously. Like, that's a big, like, oh, shit, and they kind of will readdress that in the summer.
There was, like, no filler in this match at all.
No, dude, Jeff Hardy, like, fucking... I've written down here, based more on Jeff dies. Here comes Hardy, based more on Jeff dies. Because he enters, does a fucking swanton off the pod onto somebody on the turnbuckle, and then just gets laid out, and that's it. I'm just like, cool. Like, Jeff came in, did his big spot, and got the fuck out. I'm like, good job, everybody.
And this, honestly, and this is somewhat sad, is joint for the second best Randy Orton match I have on this list.
He does like 3
and the other one is a 6-man tag.
Oh, fucking amazing!
So yeah, you've watched all the Elimination Chamber matches at some point in your life? Where does this one rank for you? Because I think it's way at the top.
I've watched all of them. Have I?
Have you?
No.
Really?
There's plenty I haven't seen.
Wow, okay.
I haven't seen, like, the early ones. I've never seen the Goldberg one. I've never seen...
Wait, have you never seen O2 then?
No.
Oh, that one's my favorite. Like,
I've never seen the Shawn Michaels one.
It's that one hasn't...
I will get there. I'm doing a watch through right now.
The crowd is Inferno. There's not a ton of filler, and Michaels is still pretty good.
He's still retaining some of his old ways.
Yeah, we haven't he's read a lot of drama books while he's been away, but he hasn't got the confidence to bring all of that into his wrestling yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you like this? I mean, obviously you do. I remember this enough to know that you do. How about the awesome parallel between Kofi and Bryan?
How do you mean?
This idea that Kofi's this eternal mid-carder, something that Bryan believed himself to be. But Bryan was never really a mid-carder. He was always special. People always liked him. Kofi really was in that hell. That's something that I pointed out, that Bryan's kidding himself constantly. He's telling, the opening promo where he's like, you people they've decided to make you people the authority, and you're booking me in these matches against 5 different dudes. I'm always the underdog. Everybody's out to get me. Everybody hates me. I'm always fighting against everyone. It's such a great fucking thing to come after watching the WrestleMania 30 match, where he's literally fighting everybody. This idea that he's this... Which is very true. I mean, the big angry, paranoid guy.
The big contrast for me was that June 24th match where he literally squashes Randy Orton. That was that was one that was like, wait a second, wait a minute, hold on a second.
No, but I love this idea that because Bryan gets really angry at certain points, that Kofi's hanging with him, which I think is so interesting, because it shows that deep down he knows he was never the same thing as Kofi. Kofi's a true underdog. Daniel Bryan, even when everything was against him, he was still a tremendous wrestler. And Kofi's been a good wrestler, but he's never had the opportunities anyways. What the hell was that noise? Hold on here.
I thought that was Tucker banging his fist, but I guess not. Wild. Yeah, so I thought this match was really good. Like I said, I think one of the biggest things in the Elimination Chamber is you just gotta minimize the filler. And every second of this match, I was thinking, oh, there's something interesting going on. And credits to the people
all
who are
around. Good
producing
Lord.
it. All right, do you want to go? So Randy Orton versus The Undertaker. I'm curious as to your thoughts.
Okay, Orton versus The Undertaker. I liked something that I drew an instant parallel on was the fact that Orton was trying to fire The Undertaker up to make him make a mistake. Something that we've talked about in the past, the idea of making Undertaker emotional will cause him to make mistakes. Orton uses like different mind games whenever against The Undertaker, which I found interesting. It's weird because he's trying to, because like whatever, he brings out his fucking dad, and like his dad like gets involved. It's obviously the idea that Orton's doing his best to duck away from Taker to make him frustrated to beat him. Maybe something to do with Orton's own anger issues or something like that. Orton gets the advantage by that way, but then is too cocky and lets The Undertaker back in. Orton has some great babyface fire I have written down. Show slam into an RKO. Orton tries the tombstone, and Taker, in his overconfidence, ends him. Like, I don't have very many notes on this, but it's good. Like,
Good or great?
3.5. I'll let you decide what that means.
Well, no,
I would say
it's
that's
not my system.
I would say it's really good.
Okay. Cool.
That would be good to really good to me.
So what about Edge versus John Cena versus Randy Orton versus Shawn Michaels?
Oh fuck! This worked for me a lot weirdly because
What do you mean weirdly? It's got all your favorite people in it except for
all
Triple
my
H.
favorite wrestlers. Oh my god! And you just gotta get. Oh, dude, take out John Cena and put in Triple H. It's the greatest match of all time. No, I just thought it was really interesting because they really did. They copped out of doing the actual Fatal 4-Way, and they just did one-on-ones a whole bunch.
Oh, okay.
But it worked because all of these guys have some kind of past relationship with each other. Because Edge and Cena have had a feud. Edge and Michaels have had a feud. Edge and Orton were tag team partners. Cena and Michaels were fighting at Mania. Cena and Orton are probably the ones without any interaction really yet. Which, oh god.
Generational rivals.
Orton and Shawn have friction between each other from Evolution. So everybody here kind of has different issues with each other. And that kind of plays into it. I think the finish was really nice because it's Shawn super kicking Cena onto Orton and Cena just wins. It's fucking hilarious. And Shawn's like, what happened? What do you mean? He's like so confused. Like, I'm like, you stupid son of a bitch. Because he's like, he's like, no. He like goes for the belt. He's like, my belt. I'm like, no, Shawn. What are you even thinking? What
Shawn, there are other belts.
Yeah, I mean, they do the rated RKO team up, and then they like undo it. The most interesting parts of the match is when Shawn teams up with rated RKO to try to take out Cena, but Cena just kills them all because he's a god. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was fairly good. So hard to try to come up with different words to like properly scale. I just like numbers, buddy. Let me just say numbers.
You can say, hey, dude, if you want to say numbers.
I would go with a 3 on this. I think obviously they copped out on anything that would really there are certain points forever where they do spots with everybody, but they're obviously spots, right? They're not like, it's not just working everybody in constantly. It's like Michaels will do a big moonsault laying at everybody, or Cena will lift everybody up and give them all an AA because that's a spot that happens in here, and I'm just like, yep, that's awesome. But yeah, basically the most guys you have in the ring at the same time is 3, and it's when Rated RKO is targeting Shawn.
What about when the bell rings? Okay, so moving on to Edge versus Randy Orton on Raw.
Shawn's like, what happened? So this is a fine TV match.
Oh, okay. That's skeeving.
I would go if it's above average for like a regular match, but for TV it works well. It's 2 heels. They're very similar people. They work very similarly. Edge is definitely working more heel of the two, which is great because Orton's better as a babyface when he's working in the ring.
Mainly because he should only do 2 moves. The rest of his moves are not very good.
He should just get beaten down and then hit an RKO out of nowhere immediately after. But like they're both cheating. The cheating kind of is weird. Edge like undoes the turnbuckle and then throws Orton into it, but Orton doesn't get caught by the turnbuckle. He's like, no, turns around and just gets speared. And I'm like, okay.
Can we talk about how good Randy Orton would be in the never open weight division? By the way, just hits a drop kick. The camera pans back as the commentators freak out, and he's sitting there like, oh, I'm back in the match. He says, and the crowd just freaks out as he tries to hit the RKO like 50 times.
Amazing, buddy.
Like, he hits the RKO and Honma just hulks up out of it. And then Orton's like, oh shit, I gotta hit another one. Okay, so you weren't a fan of this match then?
I thought it was okay.
Thought it was okay. Was it not good?
No, it wasn't good, but it was above average, I would say.
Okay. What about Randy Orton versus Triple H Last Man Standing at the best pay-per-view of the modern WWE era? No Mercy.
I'm gonna keep it real with you.
Mm-hmm.
I liked this match.
Nice. Me too. Back in the day.
That was pretty good.
This show was good. Did you watch like any of the angles from the rest of the show to get like
No.
context for this match? Do you want me to explain it?
I do know the context because JR yelled it at me a whole bunch and didn't let anything slip by.
It's so... I really like this show.
Triple H! He fought Orton because they gave Orton the belt, but don't worry because Triple H won it and then had to fight Umaga and then beat Umaga, but hurt his ribs. Here comes Triple H.
Did you hear why he was given all the matches? Vince's explanation for it?
Why was he? Oh, God.
Okay, so the first thing was... so Orton got the belt... And then Triple H came out to challenge, and Orton accepted it, and he won it. So Triple H.
By the way,
yep.
My version of this show, like in my head, Triple H won this match, and it was like ultra burial. Like I just remember, like Triple H beats him to open, fights another guy and wins, and then beats Orton again. Like that was my belief in my head about what was about to happen. I was like, oh my fucking God, they're gonna kill him. I'm like, no.
No, so like, yeah, Trips wins the belt in the opening match, and then Vince is backstage. Trips is in like the locker room or something, and Vince is like, well, we had an advertised Triple H versus Umaga match. Guess you're gonna fight that match, and the title's gonna be on the line. He goes out, he wins that match, he's back in the locker room, he's beat the hell up, he's in like the trainer's room and shit, and he's like, well, tonight our main event was a last man standing match for the WWE title, and the number one contender was Randy Orton. I guess you're fighting that match as well.
That's amazing.
It's so good. And then also on this show is the Punjabi prison match.
I saw it hanging above the ring, and I was like, oh! It's like, oh my God.
The show is like legit great.
That's the one that has the Great Khali though. It doesn't not have the Great Khali, right? Because
I think it's Batista versus Khali.
Yes, because there's the one where it's Undertaker versus Big Show. And it's like, hold on here. That's not right.
No, it's because Big Show starred in a Bollywood movie.
I'm gonna say, Batista, you're over in Hollywood, not fucking Big Show. You're over in Hollywood, not Bollywood. No, stop.
So, Triple H, Randy Orton, Last Man Standing. I remember really liking this match.
Yeah, because there's. Obviously, I said that, like, there's, like, more violent spots in, like, the Cactus Jack match. This match has the violence, but obviously it's a little bit toned down because we're a couple more years closer to, like, being PG, but it feels more aggressive. One thing that I have written down is that Jarrett at one point was like, this is all about the WWE title, no ifs, ands, or buts. And I wrote down, it's not, though. It's really about Randy Orton's relationship with Triple H and the fact that Triple H just keeps fucking bringing Orton down.
For Triple H, it's all about the title, though.
Yeah, but if Triple H didn't exist, I've written down somewhere, if Triple H didn't exist, Randy Orton would be in a way better position right now in his career. Like, even literally on this night, and overall in, like, the meta.
Am
like,
I
you know what
right
I mean?
in saying that the finish of this match is Trips, like, grasping at the apron and not able to make...
Yes.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
I was like, I literally said, Orton just kind of beats him. I'm like, Triple H couldn't sit back up from the table because his ribs were damaged. Because Triple H has to roll off the table and try to pull himself up instead of just sitting up off the table, which makes sense. His ribs were hurt from earlier. Awesome. Aside from that, yeah, it's good. It feels like violent. Where the Cactus Jack match felt more like Here's
Goofy.
some fun kind of spots. Yeah. This felt like these two fucking hate each other, man. And like
that's where Orton's at his best in all of these, like across his entire career, for me anyway. And you've got a different view on this because of the match you really like. But for me, the really good Orton matches are where, for whatever reason, whether it's the characters or just the atmosphere, it feels like they hate each other for some reason. And that, like those, like that's that for me. Outside of his multi-man matches, like. That's why I really like the Bryan stuff. That's why I remember the Christian stuff being really good. Turns out Christian's actually really bad. But but Orton is at his best when other people seem to really hate him. That's kind of, or he, I guess, hates other people, but that's more rare, I think.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Something that I have written here, which is amazing. You're gonna, I have written here. Oh shit, where is it? Fuck. I literally had it. Son of a bitch. Say something. Say something install while I find this note again. Fuck.
So yeah, this Triple H Randy Orton match I remember really liking, but unfortunately I was unable to watch it for this recap. But I do remember it being rather good.
Oh. Okay, this is not the note I was looking for, but tremendous fucking line here where I'm like, Orton tries to RKO Triple H to the table like he did to Cena on Raw, right? Because that's the thing that fucks up Cena's shoulder. I'm like, this backfires as Triple H watches the Raw product and reverses.
He doesn't.
He's like,
work.
I watched Raw, motherfucker. I remember. But there was a fucking line I had in here. Aside from when Orton is on top, it's not as interesting as when Orton's selling.
Yep.
Orton works such a babyface; it's so obvious in the second part of the match, I think. Oh, here it is. Orton's relishing in Triple H's pain and just kind of lets it sit, and that allows Triple H to like get back into the match. There's clearly a pattern here, I think, about how Randy Orton thinks working heel works.
Okay.
Shawn Michaels.
So overall, how did you find this match?
I thought it was good. Yeah.
Cool.
I also went a 3.5 on it. So.
Ooh, for you, that's relatively high, unless your name is Chris Benoit. Randy Orton versus Shawn Michaels at Survivor Series. This was the night where it was. I remember. Oh, go on.
It's no super kicks versus no championship advantage.
Oh, I see. That would come back to haunt Randy Orton later in his career.
Shawn Michaels' best move is not allowed, so it's like, yikes.
It's like when Juice Robinson worked that like I don't punch people anymore thing. Remember that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yup. Yeah.
Literally, he ran a whole like G1 without punching people.
Yes, because he couldn't punch anybody. Yeah, and it was like. It's like, I get it, I like it. Like, I like it,
yeah,
but I hate it.
You know
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I really love it, because it's such a cool
thing.
It
works when you develop, like, an uber finisher, and you do it like that. Like, Taker not being able to use Hell's Gate, like, nobody gives a shit. It's just a fun thing.
Who gives a fuck? No, he doesn't use Hell's Gate 90% of the time. Like, you know what I mean?
Or not being allowed to punt someone. That's a fine way to do it, because he wouldn't do it half the time anyway. Also, I want to put the context of Survivor Series 2007. This was the show where it was Batista versus Undertaker, Hell in a Cell, and Edge dresses up as a cameraman. I just wanted to put that in everybody's head.
The poster? The DVD poster?
With Edge on it, but he hasn't actually...
I'm on it! I know!
Edge is on it, and he hasn't, like, been on TV at all.
Yeah, I was literally like... Oh, well, why isn't Edge... Because I bought this DVD, okay, right? Because this was back before the network or whatever.
Did you get the one in the steel case?
No.
Oh, it came. I got the.
It's just a regular like
one.
DVD.
Yeah.
It's got Edge all over it, and I'm like, I just love this card. I'm like, why isn't Edge on this card? I'm like, and they mention like somebody returns in the main event in the synopsis. I'm like, it's fucking Edge. Fuck off, and it is. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, who? Somebody should be fired for that. That's bullshit.
Was this match any good?
It was so much fucking fun, buddy.
Oh, really?
Fun.
Really?
He's so conflicted. He's like, I would use the super kick now. What do I do? What? And he'd like go for it, and then all the fans were like, no, and he'd be like, oh no.
How long does it go? How long
does
this match go?
I don't even know, but he does it so much. There's one time where it works. He tunes up the band for the super kick after acting conflicted, and then just rolls Orton up.
17 minutes.
Every time he's like, so this is literally the finish too. Sean turns Orton around. Orton turns back, and Shawn goes for the super kick. And goes, oh no! And then gets RKO.
I actually kind of like that, actually.
Something that I said is they build up before this match that Shawn's been off TV for 5 months because Orton caused him like brain damage or something like that by punching him. Yeah, which I was like, is that why he keeps just trying to go to the super kick? Because he can't think great and knows he has like 3 moves? I'm like, that's the only acceptable thing for this. But I've written down all caps, LMFAO, Shawn is so conflicted. Will he use the move that will literally lose him the title? Like, it's not tough, pal. Like,
true.
Like, it's like, just don't use if you hit him with the move, you're done. And like Charles Robinson's right there. He's like, Shawn, no, don't do it, Shawn. No, Shawn, don't do it. And Shawn's like, should I do it? Should I do it? And Orton's like, no, Shawn, just don't. Orton's like, hit me. And he's like, I think I should hit him. And he's like, no, don't do it. JR's like, no, Shawn, no. Literally, he's like yelling at him.
Triple H comes out, Shawn, there are other moves.
You have an elbow, do the sharpshooter, which he does, and all the fans are like, boo, fuck you. Like, I'm like, yeah.
I mean, this actually sounds fun.
It's so amazingly fun. Like, I rated it like the exact same thing as the Edge TV match, but all those points come from the pure enjoyment of Shawn just so amazing. It's just like, here's this thing, and he's like, it's a fucking life crisis. He's so confused. Like, I just love the idea that Shawn Michaels is so easily conflicted and confused. Like, he just cannot. He's like, what kind of bread should I get? And he's like,
why don't, bro?
He's like, why are there so many choices?
Shawn, there are other breads. Not for me.
What? Like, he's like, there's too many breads.
Okay, we get to the finale of the matches that Putty hasn't watched. Bragging rights 09. According to the great Germans on Cage Match, this is the best John Cena Randy Orton match. Would you concur?
They almost pull it off.
Oh,
that's the scariest thing. Mm-hmm. They almost pull it off, but it's a fucking hour, and they cannot pull that off. Like, it's like there's good stuff in here, but it's mixed in with like 10 minutes worth of nothing, and you're just sitting there like, can we move on? There's this amazing spot where Orton puts Cena, like, he hits the firework thing by accident. And he's like,
oh yeah,
exploded. And then he puts Cena on it. And he's like, what did you do? What did you do? Like, I'm like, oh my god, it's so amazingly terrible. I'm like, legit murder attempt. What the fuck?
Oh, I think I've actually watched this recently, like within the last few years.
Jerry Lawler says, it's a blessing these two will never face each other again because it's so violent. And I'm just like, you're right, Jerry. It really is a blessing these two will never wrestle ever again. Like,
I am still personally partial to the match at Royal Rumble 2013, I think, or 14, where it was I think it was for the Unified title after they had their ladder match, where they said fuck it and like sprinted for 12 minutes, and all they did was hit each other's moves. That was like all they were doing. Like the entire match was Randy going for the FU and Cena going for the RKO, and it was actually like decent because they just didn't give a shit.
There's 2 good spots here in this match. Maybe 3. Okay, there's 4 if you count attempting to blow somebody up with the fucking pyro. Actually, no, maybe there's 5.
This is when Orton's really bald, right? Orton's really bald in this match.
He's bald as a fucking baby. And I'm uncomfortable. I'm like, bro, what the... Yeah, I'm like, bro, what the fuck? This is not... Like, I literally said, who lets you do this? Who lets you do this to yourself? There's 5 good spots
the poster,
here.
He's not that bald.
No. 5... There's 5 spots here, okay? This is counting attempting to murder him by blowing him up with pyro, because that's how pyro works in WWE, right? It wouldn't just burn him; it would like fucking explode him.
Yeah, that's how we learned that from the Jeff Hardy incident with Edge.
Yes, it would burn your face off. So the very opening, like 5 minutes in, Cena locks in the STF, and Orton just immediately, nope, fuck that. I'm not getting caught in that. I was like, good shit. I'm like, that's simple, but it fucking works. I was very proud to see that.
57 minutes to work this back. It's easy, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, very nice. And like, and shockingly, he fucking did it. JR sells really well about like, obviously, like, rather than take the full, or no, it's 2009, so it's not JR. It's, oh shit, it's fucking Josh Matthews. And I was like, fuck off, Josh Matthews. He's all over the Christian stuff.
Apparently, Josh Matthews isn't commentating the show. He's an interviewer.
Is it Michael Cole? Is it
Matt
Michael
Stryker,
Cole,
Michael Cole, and Jerry
it's
Lawler?
Matt Stryker. Right.
Okay.
I like Matt Stryker, but he sucks. It's one of those things where it's like he's not very good, but I like him for some reason. He's like just
I think most people like Matt Stryker nowadays.
I would say a lot of people like Matt Stryker. Yeah, Josh Matthews is one everybody hates. Fuck Josh Matthews.
Poor Josh.
No, not poor Josh Matthews. He works for TNA. We don't want him.
So that's Impact Wrestling.
Oh, I'm sorry. So basically, he just puts over the fact that like the STF is such a like crippling hold that Orton would rather lose the fall now than be fucked up for the rest of the match, which is a good call. The AA into the RKO, which is just a fun fucking spot. It looks kind of janky, but it works.
Isn't it more fun when it's Orton trying to do the AA though, and Cena counters it into an RKO?
There's a line I have here where I'm like, Legacy run in now. It is no DQ. Why have they not been here the entire match?
Because Orton
I'm like,
to go
about
in
25 minutes in. About 25 minutes in, this is by far the worst match I've seen here. Like, he's just working on top. Like, I just don't know what to say.
Ooh, yeah.
Orton tosses Cena through a lighting rig, and there's a big explosion. This is before the murder attempt. He blows him up already. The other one that I have is the AA, obviously, from the stairs through the table, which is like the big fucking spot. That was like a poster.
Oh shit! Did they sell that if Cena loses, he has to leave Raw?
No.
Apparently, that was a stipulation.
Oh, that's why. Because Matt Stryker was like, I don't mean to wish ill on John Cena, but I'd love to see him on SmackDown. Because I was always just like, does he just think that like Cena will just leave? Like, what the, like I can't support him. I'm just gonna go somewhere else. I'm like, that makes sense, I guess. I didn't know that though.
Okay.
They didn't sell that at all.
So overall on this match, was it any good?
There's good in here.
Well, wasn't this one you gave a 2?
Yes.
What's your criteria for something going lower than 2?
It's got to be like really actively bad.
I see. Okay, and this wasn't actively bad.
No, because they're both they're both like decent workers, right? They're not like fucking anything up. It flows okay, aside from the massive dead spots where they're just kind of hanging out doing nothing. Maybe that's literally.
And that's not their fault because they are not.
No,
designed...
it's the fact they're in a fucking Iron Man match. If this was a 15-minute long match, I'm like, whoa, this shit's great. Like they're blowing each other up. Like fuck yeah. It also never hits the point where I genuinely felt the like hatred like I did in the Triple H match, because these two, and you kind of mentioned this or whatever, and it really started to ring home for me in this. They're manufactured rivals, where Triple H and like Orton are kind of obviously through different experiences and interactions between each other. They're very like naturally going to hate each other just because of the tradition of each other. Orton and Cena really haven't like interacted with each other until like this feud, where it feels very forced to be like they both want to literally fucking blow each other up. Like I'm like, what the fuck? Like they're like, oh, Orton's just crazy, and I'm like, so he doesn't really hate him. Orton's just fucking crazy. Like it never hits the point to where I'm like, oh, this is so fucking brutal. You know what I mean? Even though Cena gets a massive cut on his head, it never really hits that point where I'm like, oh shit. You know what I mean? This is. Also, they closed with an STF, which was a nice callback to the opening.
They also get through those fun spots where it's like, can he hold on?
Yes, Orton cannot. Orton's a heel.
He was 6 seconds away.
Weak.
He was 6 seconds away.
Well, it would have been a tie. He was going to go to OT anyways. So
Orton wins in OT. If it's sudden death OT, the RKO is a dangerous weapon in OT.
It is, yeah. Shit, he should have just gone to OT. Stupid.
He couldn't survive. He showed at the very start of the thing that he can't hold on for long in that thing. So
that's true, yeah. He knows how deadly it is, yeah.
Maybe his career is more important. He's already like a 9-time champion or something at this point. You know?
That's true. I'll see y'all on SmackDown.
I work Tuesdays.
Which he didn't. He just stayed on Raw and didn't interact with Cena for like another year.
Yeah, because it was only if Cena loses, he...
Yes.
Because Orton was the champion. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, so Orton doesn't even give a shit. No.
He just loses. Whatever. I'll win the belt back later.
Alright, now we have stuff I've watched again. And we can also talk about matches in 3-match blocks.
Why is this your favorite Christian match?
It isn't. My favorite Christian match is the SummerSlam match.
Yikes, dude.
Okay, so the Christian matches as a whole are not not great.
I have written down painfully average.
I disagree with that. I think the first two are actively good matches.
I think the first one is actively good.
I think the second one is definitely better.
I think the second one is above average. I think the last one is below average.
I think both are actively good because they do have an urgency, they have a pace to them, and they have satisfying spots. Orton is still very, very pretty at everything he does. And also, Christian does try his damnedest to sell that he hates Randy Orton. Unfortunately, Christian is not a very good pro wrestler, in my opinion. He's very clunky. He's very slow. All of his spots, I'll say this, he's very ambitious, but he can't do what he wants to. His finisher, he's bad at doing. That's a bad sign.
It's a bad finish. Like I don't hate the Unprettier, but like the way he does it, where he fully has you like turned around and then turns you around, like it's kind of just like, yikes, dude. Like I could reverse that probably. Like you know what I mean? Like it doesn't seem like, oh, you know what I mean? Like obviously, like John Cena's move is literally he puts you up on his shoulder, pauses, and then throws you down. But it's like Christian's is just like, you're on your feet, walk away. Like,
but without shitting on Christian, he sells very well. He hates Randy Orton, for the most part in both of the matches. I think that they have. Yeah, I think so. I think that
we'll get to that when I get to talking.
That atmosphere. Orton works under for like most of it, which is fine. I think that all the spots feel satisfying. I don't really have any problems with the first two matches. The third match I have a lot of problems with, but the first two matches.
Third match is. Like. I'm gonna look at over the limit and then the no holds barred match at SummerSlam very differently. So I'm probably gonna split them up a little bit more than you are.
Okay, they were very similar matches for me personally. I just felt
for me they weren't.
So I'll explain the differences between them, and then you can tell me more differences and stuff.
Sure.
So the only differences I saw between the two is that the no holds barred match had a few more satisfying spots, but the crowd was a lot less into it.
So my biggest difference comes from the fact that by the time we've hit no holds barred, Christian and Orton do hate each other.
They've done a double turn by then as well.
Well, they're both face at the start.
Are you sure Orton isn't a heel?
Yeah, they're both face.
It's
because
hard to tell.
Orton turns face at Mania 26 the year prior by beating up on Cody Rhodes. Because beating up Cody Rhodes makes you a good person. The Over the Limit match, I really like a lot. Like a lot. It's two dudes who are fighting for a belt that are both clearly very unhappy with their circumstances. So Orton is very angry about the fact that that Christian is so much hanging with him, obviously, in this match. Like Christian's this like eternal mid-carder, you know what I mean? Like he was world champion because his friend kind of put him in that match. And now Christian's kind of holding his own. And that's frustrating to somebody like Randy Orton, somebody who has like well-documented anger issues. And so Orton will get angry, and then thus Christian will capitalize because he's so angry, which makes Orton even more angry. It's amazing. He's like feeding into this own cycle. Versus where Christian is similarly feeling, maybe not angry, but it comes out as anger. Christian has this feeling that he really can't hang with Randy Orton. He might be doing it right now, but he never really knows when he's going to slip. It's really exacerbated for me in like the opening seconds when Christian does like 3 moves and then tries to pin Orton, because he knows the longer this goes, the more Orton's going to find something kind of to capitalize on. I noted that Christian's definitely working heel here in this match, because he's using a lot more rest holds. Orton's offense is a lot more dynamic compared to Christian's, which, Jesus, can you imagine that statement? Randy Orton has the more dynamic offense, buddy. So
I believe it. I watched the matches.
It's so sad. I think one of the cooler spots is that Orton calls for the RKO, but Christian hears him because he gets the crowd involved and reverses it. Christian is going to use the spear, which I love, because to me it says one thing. Christian sees himself the way everybody else sees him. He's a mid-carder. Like, he really shouldn't have the world belt. He's using Edge's move not just because he's his friend and he wants to pay tribute to him, but because Edge is a multiple-time world champion. Edge clearly figured this out. If I use his move, I'll be like him. Also, amazing spot where Orton goes to punt Christian and he's like, no, that's evil. I can't do it.
Oh,
I can't
yeah.
do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. Christian hits a spear, but Orton kicks out, and Christian flips out, and I love this. I absolutely was this moment I decided that was absolutely the fucking story of this. I wasn't reading into this anymore. The idea is that Christian, that's his best shot, because that's his friend's move, who was really successful, and Orton kicked out of it. He's fucked, and he knows it. He does his best to be like, maybe the people, I can get the people behind me, and then he doesn't.
So before we go on in this match, I want to send you something you might enjoy.
Oh my god, it's going to be some match that's like...
No, so someone left a comment on one of the RTG videos saying,
Yes.
I sound very arrogant. So I sent him this screenshot as a response.
Good job, buddy. Good job.
Cool. Alright. So, you were talking very much about the first match. I presume you'd
Yes.
spend some time...
Second match,
minutes, second
I have... This is probably the smallest amount of notes I have on any... Oh, sorry, that's the last Battle of Wichita I was looking at. Never mind. No holds barred. Okay, so Christian's big plan of having Edge in his corner is falling apart. Orton's going to kill him.
yeah.
Christian yells, I'm the champ! I'm the champ! Before the match, because he's trying to prove to himself that he's the champion. Orton's super violent. It's like he's just trying to beat the shit out of this guy. I'm like, Orton really does become a Cena clone here for a little bit, where he does the clothesline, power slam, DDT, RKO.
Oh,
like,
I can't believe
five moves.
I can't believe we haven't brought this up yet when we were talking about his RKO and his fucking drop kick. His power slam's fucking great.
It's so nice. That dude fucking gets that move, man.
Sometimes he fucks it up, but majority of the time it is nice. You should be doing the power slam way more than that fucking stupid caught on the ropes DDT.
Yeah, I don't know who thinks that's a cool move. Yeah, I mean, Orton doesn't hesitate with the punch, showing there's a clear difference now in the story.
Yeah.
I wrote down this match is masturbatory for Orton. He just gets to fucking beat the shit out of this guy.
True.
Spit in Orton's face is a throwback.
Oh, yeah. That was the concerto, right?
Yeah, concerto, because fuck you, Edge, I have written down.
Oh, and he does that. Oh, that's one of the reasons.
Fuck you, Edge.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I like this match, because I thought it did its hardcore spots better than the Cactus Jack stuff. It wasn't great, but it was better. Like, they paid everything off. The finish was on the steps, right? And it was quite smooth.
Yes, because
Yeah.
it's the callback to the original move that lost him the belt.
That's
how
at Money in the Bank when he got DQ'd.
No, the finish on the steps. The sprint, like the turn thing into the RKO on the steps.
What, at Over the Limit?
No, they fake it at Over the Limit.
Okay.
They do it here. That's the finish of the SummerSlam match.
Wait, doesn't he win this match, or does Christian win this match?
Orton wins this match.
Yeah, so what do you say? What's it called back to what?
So, when Christian originally lost the belt, I think 5 days in kayfabe after Money in the Bank, whatever pay-per-view it was, Orton beat him because Christian did a... he jumped off the middle rope in the corner and turned around to do a crossbody, but got caught with an RKO. That's the exact same finish as here, but this time it's on the stairs.
Oh, I see.
Tease that in Over the Limit, but Christian fakes jumping, and Orton jumps out for the RKO and just lands on his back.
These guys have 6 matches across that summer, by the way. 1-on-1.
Oh, yeah. I'm surprised we didn't watch the Money in the Bank one.
The Money in the Bank one's really good, but I guess Cage Match don't like it because it's really short.
Yeah, but I mean, I love the finish. The idea of like no DQ, I'm gonna fucking spit in his face, get him to kick me in the dick. Boom, awesome! I'm the champion. Hold my balls. Oh yes, I'm the champion. Oh god, I'm in so much pain.
Yeah. Like, yeah, that's probably one of Randy Orton's. That's. I said I loved the SummerSlam booking for the Benoit match. The booking of that Money in the Bank thing with Orton. That Money in the Bank 2011 is just a top tier show. It's great.
So good. So good.
So, let's talk about the cage match.
The last battle of Wichita, is like
Oh, that's what you were referring to.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So, look.
I specifically looked up where they were, so I could write it like that.
The one time that I will be a psychology pedant is cage matches. I hate WWE cage matches to my core, and I like to think of myself as a relatively open guy when it comes to what stories you want to tell. So if you want to go one direction with a cage match, that's fine. If you want to go the other direction with a cage match, that's fine. But if you pick a direction, please just go with it. And one of the things I hate about WWE is they will flip-flop between, oh, I want to stay in the cage and fight, versus I want to get the fuck out of there. And this match is just constant, boring, bullshit, spots thrown randomly, the cage is clunky as fuck. Christian, all credit to him, looks really agile in this match, but it's just, some of the Orton's, like some of the fake out cage stuff is okay, but it's so boring, and none of the spots are payoff. The match never builds on itself. It's not good.
It's a series of moves that is highlighted series of moves highlighted, in my opinion, by Christian's pure dedication to just attempt to escape the cage. Like, I think there's a couple times where he does go for pins, but for the most part, he's just trying to get the fuck out of there, man.
Yeah,
and
if that was the focus of the match, it would have been pretty good. Yeah.
I was going to say, I somewhat disagree with you that they didn't pick a direction, but they definitely didn't focus as much as they should on like, Orton just is relishing getting Christian in an environment that he can't run away. Christian's just trying to run away. That should have been.
But then Orton just tries to escape the cage a couple times for some reason.
I was gonna say that clearly should have been the match here, obviously, because Christian. It literally starts with Christian trying to escape the cage. I'm like, cool.
Which I liked. I was like, oh, this could be good. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, cool, let's do this. And then Orton just tries to. I literally have written down Christian immediate escape attempt. Again, tries to escape. Orton throws him down and then immediately tries to leave himself. I'm like, yikes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I hate WWE cage matches, and this wasn't good. So there you go. So, Christian as a whole, though, do we overhype this feud as a fan base? Was this actually good?
I think it was actually good. I think we watched the wrong matches. I definitely think watching the cage match was a mistake as opposed to Money in the Bank.
According to Cage Match, according to Cage Match, that is the name of the site, right? Cage Match?
Yes.
Okay, this is fucky. According to Cage Match, the cage match was the best match in the feud.
Well, according to Cage Match is wrong. Like, I don't care. Like, there's no way. I don't know. Like, genuinely, even if you're not looking at it that deeply, like, any metric you want to measure this by, it's an inferior match to the other two before it. Like, whether you're just
I could see people liking it more, but
I don't know how. I genuinely don't know how. Because if you're just watching for the spots, you like that. If you're watching for the characters, you like the first two. If you're watching for deep in-ring psychology, the first two have that way better than this. Like, you know what I mean?
That's
I just
true,
don't
actually.
see like what the audience is that thinks this is the best version of this.
Maybe it's because it's a blow-off match. They do finish it after that.
Which it isn't even really. It should be the No Holds Barred, because the No Holds Barred match, I literally wrote, was masturbatory for Orton. He just gets to kill Christian. That's the payoff. Christian thought he had Orton cornered because he'd have Edge. Edge told him to go fuck himself. And this is it. Christian's made his own grave, and now he's got to lie in it. He wanted a no DQ match against Randy Orton. Like, a violent guy. So either do that idea and make it the cage match, or don't do the cage match afterwards for no reason. Like, because that's my feeling. The cage match isn't needed. It's not that good in comparison to the other ones, and it doesn't provide anything new.
Okay. So, what would you suggest? Do you think that there are better... Do you think in terms of just the matches themselves, are any of the other matches, as matches, do you think they would be better than the three we watched?
Let me tell you this, all right?
Yeah.
I have not watched these matches since I was 14, I think, and I got the network for the first time, and I started watching all the pay-per-views I missed since I'd started watching wrestling. I remember thinking the Money in the Bank match was definitively more interesting than this cage match. And of course, I didn't watch the cage match then compared to now, but like, this cage match was not like anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's even like, because like I think at least to some degree, and I don't know how much you'd say this, I'm still able to sometimes like turn my brain off and watch wrestling as a very casual wrestling fan. Sometimes, like, I can just watch it and take it very much for what it is. And there's no excitement here, even. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no, like...
Oh, I did really enjoy the SummerSlam match. And the Over the Limit match, if I'm being honest. I thought those were really good matches. They're in my
No, I was talking about the cage. Like, the fact
sure.
That... Sorry, I went back to the cage match. And just the idea that there's no...
Leave it alone, like, Tucker. It's already dead.
I hate this cage match. Why does it exist? I just want to throw my fucking hand through it.
Do you want me to make you really angry?
Go ahead.
I rated this cage match the same as the Benoit match.
I will accept it, because wrestling is a subjective art form in which many people can view any number of matches in a different way.
Okay, so before we cap things off with the Bryan matches, let's talk about a few matches in which Orton was a participant in multi-man contests.
I like this setup.
And also the Jeff Hardy match we'll talk about after the multi-mans.
You want to do the two 6-men, the Jeff Hardy, and then run through Bryan, the whole thing?
I actually count the triple threat as more of an example of one of the multi-man matches than being.
I think it works though with that feud.
If you think it does,
I think it works.
Connected. Okay,
I don't know.
I'm gonna run to the toilet. You can talk about whichever match takes your fancy.
Okay. I'll start off with the initial Shield match versus Team Hell No. So the big question in this match is if, like, the hot-headed squad here, because they mentioned that Bryan and Orton are having issues, if they can beat the Shield. Again, the tensions between Bryan and Orton show very early. I noted that Orton seems to have an issue with Dean Ambrose. He targets him a lot, which is interesting because the comments make sure to put over the fact that Kane is the one fighting Ambrose for the US belt, which, what? The Shield are really good because they're a unit, right? They fight and they die as a group versus Orton and Hell No, which even Team Hell No is a team of two individuals, right? They have very different perceptions on themselves and how they exist as a tag team. Note, I'm the tag team champions. So obviously the scale or whatever is definitely weighed into the side of the Shield. Daniel Bryan tags in here, and he's so fucking fiery. Like, it's insane. He's so fucking over, and he hasn't even really started. He hasn't started to do his kind of main event escalation here. He's still just a mid-carder hanging out with Kane. And so the faces are better one-on-one. Like, when one person gets one person in the ring, the faces are much better. But the Shield, they win and lose as a unit. They're a cohesive team that uses double teams and jumping in and out of the ring and taking people on the outside to slowly pick.
Which match are we talking about?
Shield versus Hell No. And Orton.
Oh, the SmackDown one. I really liked this match.
I thought it was above average.
I thought this was really fun. It was frantic. It was chaotic. It was the best. It was the best version of one of those Shield matches. There was a lot of hype behind this kind of dream team being potentially like the first team to beat the Shield. That'd been a story they'd been doing for months and months and months, and like loads of different teams with really big guys on it, like Cena, Undertaker, and like stuff like that, couldn't beat the Shield. And then, Orton has such a fun dynamic with Bryan and Kane that I think it really worked. It's really funny to see Orton, especially after the match is finished. This isn't really related to the match, but Orton raising fucking Kane's hand and looking like, "Oh, we did it, team!" It's like weird, like babyface Orton stuff.
So randomly out of character in this, like, because he's such a consistent character through a lot of this stuff for the most part.
Not babyface SmackDown Orton. This is like this happened a lot.
No, that's what I was.
We didn't get to see it. Yeah.
Oh. Really? I don't remember. Obviously, I'm young here. Like,
This
is what, 2013? I'm 12.
Babyface SmackDown Orton was very like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to smile and crack jokes.
They told me to smile. I will smile. Big Show, what is my line? Please help me.
No. You always get this confused. He's asking Sheamus what his line is, and his line is, "The Big Show is mine tonight."
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
God, I do always get that confused.
It's because the Big Show is mentioned, but is not the man who is being asked for a line.
Right, that's the joke. He ran backstage after Big Show, what his line was, came back out and said Big Show was his time. Anyways.
So, I really enjoyed this match. This is one of my favorite Randy Orton matches, actually. And a lot of it is not to do with Randy Orton. I really like the Shield. I think this is the best version of their matches. We're going to get to talk about very soon what one of the worst versions of their matches is. But yeah, I think this is like the version that I really enjoy, and that is just like high octane from the start, and the Shield get to kind of just explore their dynamic, which I think is really strong. Did you have anything else to add? I know I didn't hear what you were talking about before I got back.
Nothing really. I have limited notes on this. I'm just basically talking about how like over Bryan is, despite the fact that he really hasn't started his ascent yet. It's very obvious that the people desire to see him because he's so fiery. Like he just hangs in and he's just fucking going. It's like,
which really helps with the Shield too.
Yeah, it really helps because Orton and the opening bits in this match are absolutely fucking like terrible for me. Like I'm just totally uninterested in Randy Orton and Dean Ambrose wrestling, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, because that's what it is. And then Bryan tags in, the whole thing kicks off, and the finishing starts. Like it's, which is so weird because the comms keep putting over that Kane's fighting Dean Ambrose for the U.S. belt, where I would have just supposed that Orton was fighting Ambrose for the U.S. belt.
No, it's Bryan and Orton for the tag belts, dude.
Which is so weird because Orton and Ambrose are clearly going after each other. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is the booking here?
Ambrose doesn't give a solitary shit about the U.S. title.
He's wacky.
I mean, Ambrose
as shown in the Evolution match.
Ambrose never defends that belt. He doesn't care. Okay.
I just forget about it.
So, how did you? So you obviously weren't as high on this match as I was. I thought this match was legitimately great. What did you think? Like overall, how did you feel about this match?
I thought it was fine. I mean, it worked for TV. That's
wow.
It's such
Scathing.
A big, like,
ouch.
It's such a big condemnation for me. But it's true. I don't think this had much deeper to it than the very surface level stuff.
Let's just move on, man. You've already said you've rated it 0 stars. Now, let's... I assume we want to move on to talking about the other 6-man.
Yes. And Putty's going to want to stab me.
Oh, why's that?
I think it's better.
Ooh.
They don't fuck around and they use the outside a whole bunch. It's perfect for the Shield. In the ring, one-on-one, Shield are fucking boring, man. They're no different than anybody else. Their big expertise is when shit breaks down.
Maybe this is just a lot, because I only watched these matches once. I felt they spent longer outside of high octane in this match than they did on the SmackDown match. Because my kind of comments on this match are pretty much the same as yours on the SmackDown match, where it's like, I wish they just gotten to the spots faster, and that the spots weren't good enough to justify that. Whereas, and I thought this match was good, by the way, really good, but I just didn't think it was great. And I actually think we watched the wrong match again. I think cage match led us astray. I think the payback match, I believe it is.
It's the one right before they break up. And I thought this was that one, and then I very quickly realized... No, it's not. Yeah, because I remember the big dive, but now I'm thinking that the big dive... Because I remember a match that was very much on the outside. Like, it's just dudes everywhere fucking throwing themselves different places. But I remember the big dive, so that kind of confused me. I remember, like, because Rollins' dive is fucking insane. Like, he just fucking appears and dies. Like, I'm like, oh my god. Another solid point that I actually have on here is that Ambrose uses the figure 4 on Evolution, which is fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
I've laughed really hard at that. Also, what did Batista do? What did he do around this time? Why are people so angry with him?
Oh, you don't remember?
He gets in, big boos, massive "you can't wrestle" chant.
Yeah.
Like, is it just from the Bryan stuff? Still?
Yes. Wait, you don't remember the Royal Rumble 2014?
No, I do, absolutely.
Okay.
I just didn't know it stuck with him like this fucking angry for this long.
Yeah.
Dude, people were fucking pissed.
Wait, you need to understand the gravity of this. That incident made people
Rey Mysterio.
boo Rey Mysterio.
I still remember watching that live, and when it was Rey, I was like, fuck you, Rey, you betrayed me. Like, you don't stand for the people, you little masked fuck. But yeah, I didn't realize it lasted this long, though. Like, because the Royal Rumble's in January. This is in May? Like, fuck, man. Like, that's a long time for, like, really hot wrestling heat to sustain. I'm surprised they didn't use it for anything else. Like,
Yeah,
fuck.
Batista needed to go film.
Yeah, literally, it's like the next month. He's just like, I'm gonna leave. Bye. It's like, oh, okay.
Okay, so how good did you think this match was then? We might, honestly, my rating's still probably going to be higher than yours.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because I don't like the Shield matches that much. I gave this a 3.
Yeah, I'm a lot higher on it. So I guess I should be defending it. I still thought the back end spots were really justified and satisfying. I still think that the chaos that they create is really interesting, and I also like this version of Evolution. I think this whole feud is just fun. Like I think the Shield created a lot of random fun stuff of just random teams getting together and having fun dynamics that you just don't get when you don't have a really solid put together 3-man team. Like, you just cannot do it with the Wyatt family. The Wyatt family can't feud with, 8 teams across a month and have, 4-star matches with half of them. Whereas the Shield could, and I thought it was a really special moment in the WWE. Randy Orton didn't have a lot to do with this match.
No. I don't think I have a single note here
Randy
about
Orton's the worst part of this match.
It's about Batista. The entire
Batista's
thing
okay, yeah.
has so much fucking heat. And then I just like to... Okay. Maybe I wasn't as aware when I was this age.
Yeah.
I absolutely understand why the next year he went all in on Roman Reigns.
Oh.
The pops this dude's getting are fucking crazy on here.
Well,
everybody...
Remember that at Rumble... The guy everyone got behind.
He had his
Batista.
It was him. Yeah, that was his year because he was an underdog. Like, he was a genuine underdog that you wanted to see succeed, and then Kane and Big Show just eliminated him. I think like they did everybody else that Rumble.
No, that was the subsequent Rumble.
Oh, that was the one where they eliminated
everyone, including
everyone.
Bryan. Because Bryan was actually in the 15 Rumble, and yeah.
Are they stupid, or did they think it would work somehow?
They probably thought it would work because it was Reigns that got cheered last time.
Right, they'd think that everybody would really hate Kane and Big Show because they
sent out The Rock.
Instead, it's the only time I think in the past 25 years The Rock's been booed outside of Rocky Maivia. You know what I mean? Genuine hatred. There was no saving that man. Ugh.
So there's the only other multi-man match. The only other match before the Bryan stuff is Jeff Hardy, right?
Defined before, but yes.
Before we talk about the Bryan stuff.
Yes.
Jeff Hardy. So this match was good. I liked this. I thought this was fun.
I would say it was.
There were some fun spots. Yeah, it was good. It was reasonable, and it was Randy Orton. He tried out some new spots. They were a little weird. Everything kind of fell a bit flat because it's Randy Orton, it's Jeff Hardy. But at least they were satisfying. I felt like both guys put all the work in. They're just not good enough to pull this off entirely.
Yeah, I think there's 2 spots here that are that deliver. I think really, really, really well. Jeff at the end.
Yep.
The amazing ref Orton exchange at the end. Do your job, Randy. Do your job. He's like, but he's hurt. It's just so amazing.
The cage goes up so quickly. This is
literally.
This is the era. I think it's Randy versus Brock at SummerSlam in 18, right? I think so.
Yes, that's the one where he shoots on him. Supposedly.
Yeah. So this is an era where Vince really likes the idea of people being legit hurt because he works.
I think.
Yeah. He works.
If he didn't wrestle at the Elimination Chamber, I would be convinced he was legit hurt because I remember Jeff being in and out a bunch in this time. He'd show up, hurt himself, show up, hurt himself.
Well, he tends to hurt himself outside of wrestling, though. He did. He would hurt himself on the dirt track on the bike.
The dirt back.
The dirt track on a bike, right? That was how he injured himself that one time. He was up for a year with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the screwdriver, of course.
You liked that spot then?
I think it did its job really well.
Okay.
The idea was to be really fucking absurdly gross.
Okay.
And yeah, I think it worked.
Cool.
You didn't, obviously.
I didn't.
I know you didn't. I heard that tone.
Right, the Bryan matches.
Wow, really? You're not even going to elaborate on why that didn't work for you? Wow.
He's just stupid. He's got a big fucking hole in his ear. It's not going to hurt. I'm sorry.
No, but he twists it.
He twists it. I see. Great. Awesome.
He does. He's going to rip his fucking ear off.
I like it. If he had actually ripped his ear off, it would have worked for me. All right, so...
I know it would have.
The Bryan matches.
Yes.
I guess I'll start, because I don't have a controversial opinion, I feel like, on these matches. Except for the third one. The third one I have a pretty controversial opinion on.
I'm going to beat you.
The first match is the best Randy Orton match in his entire career. It is pure, unadulterated chaos. It is a satisfying, brutal, hardcore match. It is two men who are very good at this style of match, who have fantastic chemistry, legitimately hate each other. The fucking spots where Bryan is pounding him with the kendo sticks are amazing. The hardcore spots are built to, they pay off, they're satisfying. The match is perfectly timed. There is no filler. It is constant killer. It is built to fantastically. The atmosphere around it, the crowd is inferno. The match is awesome. It is like lightning in a bottle. It is my favorite Randy Orton match, and by a significant margin. It is everything that's done is built to. It is paid off. The spots tell an internal story, and it is just like, it is the archetype of what Randy Orton should be doing, which is getting squashed for 20 minutes and occasionally hitting RKOs. Like, it is wonderful. Orton isn't a great seller, but this is a Bryan match. This is just Bryan beating the shit out of somebody for like 20 minutes. And Orton being there and adding like the character and the fact that the crowd wouldn't be reacting in that way without him means I'm willing to give Orton like a lot of credit for this one. There's a lot of chemistry in the way that those characters interact. I don't think Bryan could sell that level of hatred with anyone else. I don't really understand why Bryan seems to hate Orton this much, but he clearly does, and he sells it really well. It's like peak Bryan, like in WWE, where he's finally figured out how because his style's changed so much. He's so much more of a high flyer now, and it's like he's finally figured out how to make that work, and without like toning it down in any way like he has to a bit later on. This is a great match, like a classic. For me, I'd call this a classic.
So the reason why Bryan hates Orton so much is because Orton continuously is asserting in this feud that Daniel Bryan is beneath him and Kane.
Oh,
like because Orton, Kane, and Bryan are like kind of boys trying to fight the Shield a whole bunch, and Orton keeps talking about how, Kane, we'd be way better if you ditched this fucking loser and like we got somebody else. Like, you have a brother, don't you? That'd be cool. Like, but like just the idea that like he sees Bryan as inferior to him, which is important. It's very important, and it's why I think that this is definitely the building block and not the finish, like not the end result of this feud. And it works absolutely. I don't feel much of the urgency that you do, because there's nothing on the line here. This is just kind of two dudes fighting because they don't really like each other, and it doesn't work that well for me because they're both faces also.
Bryan's working so heel though.
I know he is, because they're trying to push him heel. They don't know where the fuck this is going to go yet.
Who cares where it's going to go? The match was great. Who gives it, like, where it's going to go isn't about the match.
Wait. Did you usually Bryan? I have completely opposite. I've said Orton's clearly working here. Bryan's the underdog, clearly using violence to try to equate Orton.
But Orton gets in, like, 2 seconds of offense the entire time. Like, Orton's never on top. That's the whole point of the match, was chaos. Orton can't deal with it. He's never in control. He keeps trying to fight for it, but he just cannot get it. That's why afterwards Orton shakes his hand. Be a man.
Be a man.
Be a man. Because, like, Orton realizes, like, he's out, like, this, he is completely outmatched.
Okay, I don't have that at all here.
Actually, here's a good question. What did you think of Brock Cena at SummerSlam 13? Or SummerSlam 14? Because I also think that's a classic.
I don't know if I've ever seen that match.
Okay. Because they're very similar to this, but with... I was going to say with worse workers, but actually, comparatively, to some extent, they're relatively similar. This match, for me, this, like, it was all about the chaos. Like, they just complete... that Orton is like a fucking ship in the ocean, and he's getting nowhere at all in this match. Like, constantly Bryan is just completely on top.
It's so weird that you call it that, because I have it very back and forth here in my notes. I have basically summed up, Bryan's anger will continuously let Orton take back control of the match, but Orton's overconfidence allows Bryan to re-enter the match. So they're both constantly giving control to each other back and forth.
I really didn't say that. Like, yeah, Orton occasionally gets...
I'm genuinely, like, completely, like, I could have completely remembered this wrong.
I mean, maybe me
too.
Maybe me too, but like the way I remember it is Orton gets a little bit of offense and then Bryan is... And the difference in, like, Orton never, like, does his, like, shit. Like, ever. Like, he never gets to do the DDT, he never gets to do the stomp. I think he might do the stomps once. But he never gets to do anything because he, like, punches Orton, like, Bryan a little bit or headlocks him a little bit, and then Bryan just goes ape shit. Bryan's always, like, another level every time. So even if Orton does have more control than I'm remembering, it always feels like Bryan is destroying him because all of Bryan's control segments are just on a different level of urgency to Orton's. Orton's always like, okay, I might be getting back into it. Oh god, he's kicking me again. Oh god, he's got the kendo stick now. It's like it's crazy. And I can't remember whether it's this match or one of the other matches where they do like a spot onto the table, but the table's on the ground and it breaks even though it's not set up because that's just how much fucking energy these guys are putting into the match, and then Orton tries to like set it up in the corner, but it's already broken. That's
this one.
Okay,
this is the only hardcore match of the three with Bryan.
Yeah, and this is the best hardcore match of Randy Orton's career for sure. Like, this is so good. To me, there is literally night and day between this match and every other match on this list. This is the only match of the year contender that I watched, for sure. And that's probably one of the reasons why my conclusion will be where it is, because of who it's against. If he had this match against Christian, we'd be talking about Randy Orton very differently.
It's interesting. We're going to have the exact same conclusion, I believe, after hearing that. Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't feel it like that, and it's really weird. I don't have very many notes for this, aside from just talking about going back and forth a whole bunch. I don't know, it's interesting to me, maybe just because we've clearly, I don't want to say like we've clearly seen two different matches here, because that sounds like one of us would be wrong, but like, I don't know whether...
It could be that the stuff just landed differently, like that happens.
Maybe, yeah, because I have this as very back and forth in my head, and maybe, like, the thing that I keep stressing here is that Orton will gain control, and then ease up, and then Bryan fucking goes in on him. And that's, maybe that's what you're seeing and how that relates to what I'm seeing, because that's how I see how it could work when you started explaining, like, he'd get a bit of control and then Bryan would come back at him 10 times harder. I definitely see that. I don't see like an extended squash. I see somebody who can't figure out Bryan. I think it's pure kinetic energy.
It would be valuable to you to go and watch Brock Cena and see how you feel about that, because I think that's a valuable thing, because if you come back and say the same thing about that, I'll be like, oh, okay, I see just how the perceptions are different here. Whereas if you think that's somehow a different like style of match, then that could be more interesting to explore. We might have to do a follow-up podcast where we go watch the Money in the Bank Christian Orton match, Brock versus Cena, and see. And we have a follow-up.
Leave your Randy Orton matches below.
I mean, I was gonna say, I was going through the stream before we started. Like, is there anything I'm missing? There's the Rated RKO DX stuff people brought up.
I was shocked at that. I was shocked that wasn't on here.
Yeah, so maybe we can take it.
It's like we literally because there's some weird time jumps in here. Like, I mean, obviously they're set up for a certain reason, because we go from early 05 to like mid 07, and then from mid 07 to late 09, and then late 09 to mid 2011. Like, I'm like, whoa, there are like stretches here where. Well, and then that's when I had to realize that this is supposed to be his best matches. Yeah. It's not supposed to be like all his major shit in order. Yeah, it's just a sample. And
we're not sitting there watching Triple H Randy Orton at WrestleMania 25. That's not fucking happening.
I'll do it, buddy.
I refuse.
I will justify it.
I'm not doing that. So that's not happening. So let me talk about the second match. I felt like it pretty much had all of the ingredients of the first one, except Orton was in the match more, and he's not very good at it. And so I thought it was a great match because it had all of the elements of it, but it was just a worse version. They still had the same intensity, the same urgency. It was almost everything else was there, except Orton is involved more and isn't as good as Bryan when he's on top. So, like, I just didn't like the match as much.
So this is when I realized what I believe, at least in my opinion, or I perceive, the story of Randy Orton versus Daniel Bryan is about. Randy Orton and Daniel Bryan are very comparable in ring ability. Obviously, in kayfabe. We're keeping a kayfabe here, folks.
Hey, we haven't done a show on Daniel Bryan yet. Maybe he's trash. I've heard of him.
He's absolutely terrible. He's one of the worst workers I've ever seen. But obviously, they're very comparable in kayfabe, and I believe that the difference is that Orton's confidence is his gift and his curse. So in this, it's non-title. Orton's just come off of winning both the belts, Big Gold and his Rock Championship, against Cena. And so that's why he's more in control of this than he was before. Because I do have that written down. He's able to hang with Bryan here better than he was before. But it's also his curse. Because his ego keeps allowing him to give up control. He needs to play to the crowd. He needs to get under their skin. He needs to, feel himself. And that allows Bryan to regain momentum constantly. And finally, he gives up momentum too many times where Bryan's finally going to finish him. And Orton has to settle for a low blow because his confidence, he couldn't have Bryan beat him. He'd fully lose his confidence. But I think the overall story of the match is how Orton comes in on this great high and comes out being humbled.
Cool. How did you feel about this match overall compared to other matches?
Overall, I liked it more than the first one. Compared to the other matches,
just like
in general.
Yeah, like it was a great match. Like where would it rank on the annals of wrestling history?
I think it ranks around the upper middle. Okay. I'm not crazy about it, but I really like what it was trying to tell. But I think that there's just something missing in it for me, and I don't necessarily know what that is. Maybe I was too focused on the kind of story that was being told and not enough on the actual mechanics of it, which is something I'm definitely partial to. I like looking more at what's going on between the two workers than properly building to spots or something like that. But yeah, no, there's definitely something missing here, and it might just be
I agree with that.
A lack of, and I don't need stakes in wrestling, but this felt a little bit.
I guess this is an important thing to think. For me, the stakes are only as good as the workers are willing to sell. That's why I'm so I'm very antagonistic towards your take on the first match, because a title match can feel like it has no stakes if the workers don't act like they're trying to kill each other. My thing is that if the workers are acting like they're trying to kill each other, that's the stakes. You don't need to tell me. They're showing me. And that's why I don't really care. There's so many John Cena Randy Orton matches where they're just or actually a better example, because this will piss more people off, there are so many Kazuchika Okada title matches where he's just feeling the guy out and he's like, oh, let's do our little grapple fuck you at the start, and it's I don't care. You can tell me this is the greatest title in wrestling, but they don't seem to care that much. Whereas, with that first Orton Bryan match, I don't care. You don't have to tell me what's on the line. I could, if you asked me what's on the line, I'd be I don't know, maybe they're wives or something. They're fighting to kill each other. If I had to guess, I don't know, 10 world titles?
I definitely feel that, and I'm definitely wondering this now, as I start to look at it. Something you said about that street fight was that Orton is less involved in that, right? That's more about Daniel Bryan. I'm wondering if at this point, since this is an Orton look-through, I'm looking at Orton, and I'm looking at what he's doing and how that relates to the person he's fighting, and I'm wondering if that's tainted my view slightly.
Okay, that's really interesting. Let's move on to the third match, because this relates directly. This match was almost really bad, because Randy Orton is half of this match. That's my reason for thinking, like, this match is still a good match, but it almost isn't, because Orton is all over it.
To me. It's definitely what's happened to me, buddy. This match is good.
I mean, Orton is way more involved in this match, but I don't think that's a good thing.
Okay, so Orton's heat, I figured it out at this point. Even though I talked about it all the way back to the Cactus Jack match, it took me this long to realize that Orton's heel heat, even more so than headlock, is hit a spot, strike a pose. Like, this match is insane with, like, does a drop kick, poses to the crowd, does a suplex, does his taunts. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's just fucking every single move he does, he's fucking hitting the D-pad to get his momentum up and try to hit his finisher earlier. That's amazing. The best way I could talk about it.
I wish he played into that now that you say that. That would be amazing, because we've talked about him focusing more on the RKO. Imagine if he was just a video game character. The whole point
he
of
has to build his heat meter in order to hit the RKO. They have to be so angry at him. But something that I really liked about this match is that this entire feud is about Randy Orton's confidence.
Or as I would probably put it, control. I think we see the same things, but I say it differently.
I would say so, yes, because I say confidence. Yeah, maybe. I think those are very similar words. Orton has more control here because he needs to. So they're talking about going into this how the Authority are like, maybe he's not our champion, huh? Which I think has shaken him, and so he needs to perform here. I think he's also still very confident in himself, though, and he's trying to show off to the people in the back that he is the shit, I'm telling you, because that's what leads to do a move, strike a pose. Like, yeah. I can do this with my hands tied behind my back. He's nothing. Look at me, Triple H. I got him. He's nothing. Just like you used to do, Dad. So I said, when Orton is in trouble, he gains control through his sheer violence in this match. But when he's in control, he's cocky and then loses control, and the cycle repeats itself. And then there's different things in here, like Orton goes back to the arm. Do you notice the arm across the three matches? Orton focuses more in on Bryan's arm. Mm-hmm. I assume to prevent the S-lock. Otherwise, I don't know why else he would be doing it, because it plays into the finish ever, because he almost doesn't get it, but then has to like hold his forearm, and that's how he gets it done. And so this match also kind of has a bit more gravitas to it, because they talk about, you know, if Orton loses the match or whatever, maybe they could reconsider him as the face of WWE or whatever, because Jesus, reality area is so fucking crazy. So I said, Bryan, I also noted here, Bryan is totally the opposite of Christian. When Christian loses his cool as Orton kicks out of his moves more and more and more. When Orton kicks out of Bryan's moves, Bryan gains adrenaline and starts to hype himself up. Like, Orton will kick out a big move and Bryan's like, fuck yeah! Like, let's fucking kill him. And so, yeah, I said that the whole match is about Orton needing to keep Bryan slow, or else he will absolutely spiral out of control on him. Which is interesting. I might have liked this match even more if I had picked up on that in the street fight. Because now I'm thinking that's definitely what it is, because I have like half a story here. Because he's very obviously become aware that Bryan is in control when he moves. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And when he's going super fast or whatever, which is showcased in the Shield match, he's fucking unstoppable.
Ray always used to do.
Yeah, he's fucking unstoppable once he gets moving. And so it's interesting. I might like this match even more, sadly enough. Or maybe I'd hate it even more because maybe I would hate it more because I'd seen maybe the opposite side of it. But I think it's a really cool idea that
I think you will continue to like this match because you are so focused on the macro in wrestling. So for me, I often do find feuds, as a general rule, to be generally their matches tend to get worse as they go on, because you lose the lightning in a bottle, and you have to be very interesting in what you layer to replace that. And I tend to find most feuds don't. Whereas for you, I think feuds would generally just get better as they go on, because you're not as bothered in them paying everything off. You just want them to layer shit on top of each other. Like, the more stuff is in a feud that you can think about and you can kind of put your own stories into, the more enjoyment you get out of matches, rather than like, I don't care how much shit you got because you've got to pay it off in the end. I ain't gonna do it for you. Like, it's your job to make it interesting, and if you've got like 5 things, then you're less likely to make those 5 interesting. Whereas for you, if you've got 5 things, those are things you can make interesting. You don't need them to do it for you.
Right.
So I think you'll still enjoy this match. I just think it's a different way we view it. Like, I always try my best. I always feel bad. I don't like bringing in stuff from other matches when I'm thinking about a match. Like, I'm interested in what, like, if they pay it off in the match, fair enough. You know, like, you know, if it's a satisfying spot in the match, fair enough. But I don't tend to like add that baggage myself. I don't like doing that. Yeah, I think you did a good job at like explaining this match. It definitely sounds very fun the way you put it. Yeah, I think it was an interesting discussion on these Bryan matches.
There's 3 notes I have here. Or sorry, it's 2 notes. Oh, look, based Kane appearance. Oh, bye, Kane. Right next to each other.
Oh yeah,
He
Corporate
runs
Kane.
out, gets dummied, and then that's it. He's just done. Like, I'm like, all right, bye. Like,
let's move on
fucking
to the triple
Corporate
threat, because I have a very simple opinion on it, and I can leave you to talk about it for the rest. I think this match is almost identical in setup to the Benoit match, in that it is built specifically around and obviously it's done differently. The Benoit match is all about an in-ring story, whereas this one is more built, like the stories are a lot more chaotic, but I think structurally it's very similar in that it is all about building to certain big moments and hoping they land. I think the difference between this and the Benoit match is that in this match, they all land, and it's the only time in WWE history where they have managed to get an arena or a stadium crowd on board with a match. You pick any stadium match in the history of WWE, and it just, something is blowing up in your house.
yeah, I'm like, what the fuck was that? Like, oh my god.
Any other stadium match in the history of WWE, and it's just really hard to get wrestling to work in a stadium. This is the exception. Everybody cares about this match, and every spot lands. It's great. It's not ambitious enough to go beyond that for me. What do you think?
Are you ready for the most insane thing I'm about to say?
Oh shit, yeah, go for it.
I don't really like this match that much.
Oh.
I think the story peaked earlier in the night with Orton, or with Bryan beating Triple H. And this is me casting, I didn't watch the Bryan Triple H match for this. But casting my mind back to even when I was watching WrestleMania 30. It was the first WrestleMania I'd ever watched live, I believe. No, sorry, I'd watched all WrestleManias that I was like around for live until then. This was my first one on the network, I think. No, I bought this one on pay-per-view. I remember this. Living room. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Anyways, yeah, I was buying only WrestleManias because not paying for anything else.
You could have bought a webcam for that price.
I could have, probably 4 times.
Wait, oh yeah, Canadian dollars. I guess WrestleMania was what, like $250?
Yeah, actually. No. It's I think 50.
Okay, that's what I thought it would be.
I don't think they change very much because it's through the Canadian pay-per-view providers, I assume. So
there was a really weird name for them. I remember the Canadian. It might not have been in your era. It might have been in the late 2000s, where the Canadian pay-per-view was called something really weird. Not really weird, but it was very Canadian. It was like a name, and the name was really Canadian.
Oh, weird.
It's almost as if I think it was almost like Tim Horton Network or something, but it was not Tim Horton. It was another name that sounded very Canadian. I can't remember. Something Newman, I think it was, but I can't remember. Anyway.
Weird. Yeah, I can't even think of that.
It would have been like you were 5 or something at the time.
So I already have a problem with this because it's a triple threat that is mostly a one-on-one match.
What do you mean, dude? This is a triple threat that's mostly a 6-on-1 match. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Obviously, I think... Okay, I'm going to be honest with you with this. I don't know why this match doesn't land for me.
Yeah.
It didn't land for me in 2014. It doesn't land for me now. It just doesn't feel like anything to me. It's a very match. And I'm struggling to explain it even now. Because all my notes here are mostly just talking about literally what's happening in the match and very little about the match, aside from Batista and Orton clearly just want to fight one-on-one, and they don't want Bryan there. Is that because he's a better wrestler than them? Probably. I don't know. It just doesn't land for me, and I think that's the best way I could put it. It's very similar to the Benoit match, weirdly enough,
Hey!
but worse, where all these spots just don't hit for me. I'm just not that interested in it. I think that Bryan's story apexed earlier on in the night when he finally beat Triple H. I've written down, this feud should just be Triple H versus Daniel Bryan. Orton and Batista merely exist. Like,
I actually think it should be Orton Bryan without the trips or the Batista thing in there.
Either one, you know what I mean? Like, they've made it very, and this is interesting because I think Orton, whenever it comes to something with Triple H, he's always just a pawn. He just kind of is there. Anytime Triple H is involved, he's very quickly pushed to the back in favor of Triple H.
To be fair to him, though, I think this is one of Orton's best roles, is Triple H's pawn in this thing. He's just like, he's like Edge. It's like almost like ultimate opportunist. Like, he doesn't give a shit if he's being used. He's got the titles. It's fine.
Yeah, I just think that I don't know. I've never. This is something completely that's not really held in this match, but I've never liked doing the triple threat thing for Mania. I've liked it once, and it's the Benoit build. All the other builds, it's always felt forced when they all of a sudden make something a triple threat. Versus, I mean, even this feels kind of forced because they just all of a sudden last minute were like, Bryan beats Triple H, should be in the main event. And it's like, what? Why? Why would that be a thing? That doesn't make. Why is that a thing? What? Why does that make him in the main event? The real thing should have been that he fucking beat Randy Orton before the Elimination Chamber. You should have talked about that. Because he does. I don't know. I just think it's interesting because I can't provide much more commentary on this, and I wish I could, because I would love to be like, this match doesn't work because this, and this. Just these things don't hit for me. I've written down here, because I remember this even in 2014, never forget that fucking monitor, man. I swear Randy Orton just fucking destroyed his back on that fucking monitor. It's the craziest fucking thing when he goes, oh fuck, and his eyes kind of like open and then he moves slightly and you see the monitor underneath him and you're just like, oh my fucking god, who the fuck like ripped that table apart? It was you big fucking idiot. I look back, that is the table he tears apart. I'm like, oh my god. But yeah, it just doesn't hit for me.
Yeah, like I said, I think that's fair, because like I described it, like the whole point of the match is it is building to very specific spots that have to hit, and if they don't for you, then you're not going to like the match. I will say one thing that's becoming very obvious to me is that crowd influences me way more than it influences you. I have a lot more fun in a match when a crowd is nuclear, and this match hit its point. You would, I hope, agree that this when it hits its spots, the crowd just goes crazy, whereas in the Benoit match, they were very muted.
Obviously, I wish they're so fucking loud for a
stadium.
For stadium,
yeah.
If they were in a regular arena, I would have loved it 10 times more. Because I love like a raucous crowd. You know what I mean?
Really? Because for me, like they like that was just max. Like I think it would have been exactly the same, because it would have been like.
Oh no, it would have been. But stadiums, it's an open top, right? So the sound goes out.
Yeah, I agree. Like I agree in general. Like I agree with the like, what's the word? The logistics of stadium shows. But I consider this to be an exception. Like I watched that and like literally, I don't think there's because all of them are making noise. Like I don't see there being any problem in this match with the stadium. Personally, like I just think it's fucking. It is loud in there. But you think there are still problems with the stadium?
Yeah, no, it's not even like problems with the stadiums, because it's very loud. It's just like the logistics of it is, how much louder would it have been if it was in a regular arena? Like, and obviously it's not like going to be literally louder. You're just going to be able to hear the sound better, which I always like, because it's interesting you'd say that, because I would have thought for the longest time that I was really heavily influenced by crowd reaction. I think I've often said that if the crowd's dead, it really fucking hurts matches. But going through this, I genuinely don't think that's the case anymore. Yeah, like I think that I'm much better able to completely tune out a crowd and just like...
It's the post-corona era, man. It's
confused me so badly. I'm just accepted to it now.
You would like a boneyard match over WrestleMania any day.
Boneyard.
One soul for one soul, Alan Jones. Okay.
Amazing.
So I want to ask two important questions as we come closer to the end of this Randy Orton retrospective. First of all, your favorite match of Randy Orton's career is Chris Benoit at SummerSlam.
Chris Benoit SummerSlam.
So if you and me both do not have like a really detailed like top 500 of all time, or even 100, like with like a very detailed of where everyone would rank. But if you had to guess, wait, first of all, what was your star rating on that match?
4.5.
If you had to guess, do you think that all of your top 10 best wrestlers of all time have a 5-star match?
I would say probably, yeah, and if not, they have like multiple 4.75, 4.5 eras. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they have to have like a ton in that bracket, but just never able to like fully hit that, if that makes any sense.
How far down do you think you'd have to go on your list before you hit someone that didn't have a 5-star match?
That didn't have a 5-star match?
Yeah.
To like 9, 10. That's like that's like the highest I could think of. And of course, I don't have this list made up. I don't even know. I don't know anything past 2.
Of course, yeah.
I know Brian's one of them, Flair's the other. The number changes depending on my mood.
What was your average?
Was my average?
Yeah.
Shit, I didn't do this.
You can just do equals average and then open brackets and copy the
I deleted the spreadsheet, buddy. I didn't use the spreadsheet. I used Word.
Okay, I'll tell you my average.
Stall. I'm breaking out the calculator.
All right, you bring out the calculator, and I'll do these questions with myself instead of continuing down the rabbit hole with you. So for me, the actual so there's a big argument about peak versus volume, right? So I like peak a lot. I'm a big peak guy. There are a lot of people who I really, really love in pro wrestling who are pretty much live and die on their peak. Akira Hokuto is the best example. Akira Hokuto has 5 good matches, and then she has barely anything else. But those 5 are industry-changing matches that I really, really, really enjoy. It's just a lot the same with a lot of the women's trailblazers, and I'm a big fan of women's wrestling. So I'm very into my peak, but I think at the very top end, I'm more of a volume guy. If you look at my top 4 or 5 guys, they're almost all volume-based wrestlers, and so for that reason, I could very easily see a guy who has never had a 5-star match being in my top 5. I think honestly, depending on my mood, Daniel Bryan has never had a 5-star match. I think that honestly is possible. There's a few candidates in there, but generally speaking, I'm not sure if I would go all the way on all these matches and say, oh yeah, that was perfect, that was 5 and stuff like that. And I think a lot of times you'll see the 5-star stuff a little lower down because they just don't have the volume. They're just peak guys. So looking more on the average though, so I only ranked 13 of these matches. But across the 20 best matches of your career, to have an average of 3.68 is, I think, pretty low. I think if I was to look at John Cena's best 20 matches and average them out, I'd end up somewhere around 4.2. I think 4.2 to 4.5 is probably where we're looking for all of the top 10. Again, I don't have a list drawn up, but I would expect Randy Orton to be in the hundreds based on that average. Tucker, have you?
I have.
Okay.
3.04.
So for you, did you hear my explanation?
I did.
Would you like to give one of your own?
I think I don't necessarily know where I land in the debate of volume versus peak. I would think, just judging by my initial reaction to that, I think volume I definitely lean volume. Because I was saying, I could do with a lot more people who don't have 5-star match or something like that. But I think it would have to be a little bit further down. It's almost I equate it to almost having a championship in a sport or something like that. How can you be the best ever without having a 5-star match? You know what I mean? How can you not have that perfect match and be the best? It's possible, because it's definitely possible, and I don't necessarily know.
Can I ask you an unfair question?
Go ahead. Hit me with it.
Can you name Flair and Bryan's 5-star matches?
Flair and Bryan?
Because you said they were probably in your top 2, and you said... Go on.
There's definitely a Flair one with Arn Anderson somewhere.
Okay. That was... Okay. Go on.
What? What's up?
I feel like you're... the way you said that, I could hear in the back the inflection.
Somewhere.
In the back of your voice,
I'm
like,
that's a component.
let's pull Arn out of the air here.
Yeah, grab Arn. I'm like, grab Arn, grab.
How did you like
Nigel?
How did you like the Steamboat matches?
The Steamboat matches?
Yeah,
I've seen one of them. I liked it a lot.
Okay. What about Brian? Are you going Nigel? Have you seen those Nigel matches?
I haven't. I'm on the doorstep to go because I've interacted with somebody who's very much all about Nigel, and thus is basically forcing me to watch them eventually.
Have you watched the Morishima matches yet?
Yes, I watched one of them at your, I don't want to say request, but your recommendation.
How do you feel about those matches?
I liked it a lot.
What about the Kenta match in ROH?
Haven't seen the Kenta match.
Okay. Cool.
There's so much wrestling I haven't seen, buddy. Don't be surprised, all right? Like,
just because you were making the point, you weren't sure if Guy could get to the top of your list without a 5-star match. I wanted to ask if the two guys you would predict to be at the top of your list have 5-star matches that you have in mind.
I would say that Flair and Bryan are in my top 5. Maybe not so much because of particular match ratings, but because every single time I watch, or no, maybe not every single time, but most of the time when I watch a Daniel Bryan or a Ric Flair match, I come away enjoying it.
Oh, away.
Yes,
okay.
I come, and then I'm like, this is nice. Thank you.
That's a really good point. I forgot about that. I used to make this point, but I forgot about it until you just brought it up. I haven't made this in years. There is not a bad Daniel Bryan match. This is a very special quality. Like, yeah.
Like there are I have seen bad Ric Flair matches. You look at anything from like the late '90s, and you're gonna want to shoot yourself. Trust me, I've seen them. It's terrifying. It genuinely shakes your opinion on somebody. Seeing them that bad, you're like, man, he's fucking terrible. Wow, I don't know.
Shinsuke
what the hell I was
could
thinking.
do it. So that came to mind. Like Shinsuke could do it if nobody ever booked him long. I actually really liked the Big Cass match.
Territory Shinsuke would have been phenomenal.
Oh yeah, dude. Like Shinsuke is really good in those long matches if he's motivated, and Shinsuke is really good in those short matches. But when he gets booked on like Payback. Sure, like Payback or like was it Destruction? That's the name of the show. And he's got to go like 20 minutes with like Goto. Like, of course that match is going to be awful. I want to address Kieran in chat who said versus Big Cass. This was in response to Danny Bryan's never had a bad match. I really liked the Big Cass.
I was going to say, I remember thinking they were like shockingly fine. I was really afraid that they'd put Cass over him, but then they just didn't. But yeah, no, I remember walking away from both of those being like, this is a lot better than I thought it would be. Which that's almost more of a like tremendous feat than like, you know what I mean? Like taking somebody who like you think would absolutely be a death opponent and pulling something out where you're like, this is better than I thought. Like,
that's the quality that makes Bryan and Flair special to me, is you can point at, and also John Cena to a lesser extent and other guys, but like Bryan and Flair really like is that a lot of their huge, like they are just everyone's best opponent, right? And you can pick out like some really bad guys and be like, holy shit, Morishima, really? And then you're like, it's like, wow, okay. Or like Kofi Kingston, really?
Yeah, Kofi Kingston.
Like, okay, sure. Or guys like that. So
Jesus.
So obviously you don't have a list written up, but what I was basically asking you is where would you estimate Orton to fall on a hypothetical sort of top 500s?
Somewhere definitely below 100. Like that's absolutely certain. Maybe below 250 even. Like I think it's weird because I think Orton has a lot of the prospects, but just doesn't have that many great matches for some reason.
How many great matches do you think Randy Orton has that we've seen?
Great matches that we've seen, that we've watched. I want to say maybe 4. I would say were great.
Do you really think there are great matches that weren't on this list that Randy Orton's had?
The only one I can think of is maybe that Christian one was really dope, but I don't know, the last Battle of Wichita there has me rethinking everything I thought of about Christian. And I think Christian's a good worker, too. That's the scary part. Huddy doesn't think he's a good worker. I think Christian can be a good worker, and that match fucking sucked.
That is absolute. And I actually have seen a lot of Christian. The Randy Orton stuff.
You're not moving on that?
I've seen a lot of Christian, and the Randy Orton stuff is by a long way his best single stuff. By a long way.
Wow.
Yeah. The tag team stuff's good, but it's not his fault.
Not even his stuff with Joe?
Wait, is this in TNA?
Yeah.
All of that stuff's really bad. Really? You're a Christian Cage kind of guy.
Well, no, I'm not a Christian Cage kind of guy. I just don't think he's terrible. Right. I think he's good.
Christian's the next guy.
We're doing it, folks. See you in hell.
I don't think any of that Joe stuff's very good either, though, if I'm going to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, I really don't like TNA Joe.
I've seen a lot of that mid-2000 stuff, and my constant takeaway is just Joe's fucking phenomenal.
Oh, wow. I see a point
very awesome.
There is a promo where I can see the moment Joe loses his mind. I can just see
the one with the dick on his face?
I think he's holding a machete.
Yes, yeah. He's got the person upside down. He's got that's 2010. That's not even near that, dude. Holy shit.
Okay.
I'm talking like 2006.
Oh, yeah, I forgot Christian's run was a lot earlier.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that Joe stuff then, actually.
Oh, okay. I did it, everybody. Christian is saved.
I would have watched it, but I don't remember it, which isn't a good sign.
No, it's definitely not.
I would have watched it because I watched a lot of TNA in that era, but yeah, I don't remember that.
Did you get burned, buddy?
Did I get burned? In what way?
Burned by TNA.
Or
did you already know by the time it started really going downhill? Or did you always know?
I'm one of those guys who yeah, it wasn't. I didn't always know, but I also wasn't that dedicated. So, like, when I saw Ric Flair, and Hulk Hogan start showing up, I was like, "Oh, this is done. Oh, okay, this is over.
Oh, we're done. We're done.
Okay,
we're done now."
Oh, I see. This is. Oh, yeah, and it was sad. That was a sad era. 2010 is so sad for pro wrestling. It was like, oh, ROH is dead. Noah's dead. Fucking TNA is dead. Like, it's like, oh, okay, well, and WWE's really bad.
Yeah. Although the bullshit in the 2000s is just like...
I will say, though, going back and watching 2010, there was a lot more good stuff than I gave it credit for at the time. Sheamus is alright. But other, like, yeah, anyway. If it's earlier, then Christian might have a chance. But I still think this Orton stuff I always remember, whereas I must have watched that Joe stuff, and I just don't remember it.
It's about 5 years before this. So if your big concern was how slow Christian was, just saying.
That was I guess that was my big concern, but, like, there was a lot of good stuff going for these matches that might not be present in the Joe stuff, you know what I mean? But Joe's good at doing the stuff that Orton does here, so, you know, maybe there's hope. Maybe there's hope. Is it in the X division? Is it?
No, it's World Belt.
Ooh. Jeez. The big boy belt Joe gets
big
to
boy
play
belt.
with. Wait, what year is this? This is like skinny Joe.
Yeah, 2006, I think, 2007. It's before Joe does his big feud with Angle.
Okay. Well, that's okay, so yeah, going off of Christian Cage and back to Randy Orton. Would you like to actually, I'll do it first because I'd like to let you have the closing statement on Orton. I think Randy Orton has, like, 3 good moves. And can actually put, like, his head's actually good. Like, he's actually okay at putting a wrestling match together. It's just, he knows, like, at a certain point... Is this something I've said that's,
His head's actually good?
Yeah, like his brain.
Yeah, okay.
What? Okay.
His head's actually good, everybody. Don't worry.
It's true. His brain's actually, like, pretty good at putting the wrestling match together. It's just he naturally will say, oh, I'm a heel, I should be working over this guy now. which is true, and it's the correct thing to do. It's just, unfortunately, that's what he's really bad at. And so he ends up spending most of his career doing these heatless, soulless, just horribly vacuumous matches where he main events and he wrestles 16 to 20 minutes with a guy who's reasonable, and then they just do okay. But Orton is just so boring because the one thing he absolutely lacks is charisma. Every good match he has, except for apparently the Chris Benoit match, but I'm not going to defend that one, is against someone who's massively charismatic, who can carry the story side of the feud, or who is over as all fuck, so it doesn't matter. Randy Orton is a charisma black hole, and he really struggles to get out of that black hole and do things that are interesting. He's been criminally misbooked throughout his career, and unfortunately has spent the majority of his time in a character that doesn't serve his wrestling. And that's a death knell for professional wrestlers. Is he overpushed? Probably. But arguably he has been booked poorly, and that in better roles maybe he could have been better suited. But I still maintain that he was pushed as a top-tier main eventer for 10 consecutive years while being one...
It's like 15 now, buddy.
Sure, but like proper like top main eventer from like 2004 to 2014.
He had the world belt in 2016 against Bray Wyatt. I don't know if you've blocked that out because of the trauma.
I don't count it as like a top tier main event feud.
Oh, okay,
or a consistent like push, like, you know, he's on.
Actually, might be 2017.
Either way.
Oh yeah, because Jinder. Oh god, Jinder. Oh no.
He's pushed as a top tier main event for at least 10 years, in my opinion, and he does not justify that push. And there have been guys who have been more over, been better wrestlers, been better at what he does. He's never served anything that isn't the Bryan feud, where he played his part perfectly. And that's about it. He has one classic with the greatest wrestler of all time. Who doesn't? To be perfectly honest.
Everybody's fought Ric Flair and done so well.
So
as I said, 1 and 2 switch at any given time.
There's my piece on Randy Orton. He's got some great stuff in him. He'd be a really cool fiery babyface if only he stopped doing all the heel stuff. Unfortunately, he has to do all the heel stuff, and he's really bad at it. And he couldn't be a babyface in WWE anyway because they have to do heat spots as well. So it is what it is. He's not good enough to be a WWE main eventer, and they main evented with him for 10 years. That's my opinion on Randy Orton. Is he awful? No. I just said I have justified so many great matches that I think are great that Tucker doesn't over the course of this hour that hopefully that's clear as day. I think he has some great stuff. He doesn't justify his push. Therefore, I consider him to be the most overpushed wrestler of all time. Tucker.
Randy Orton has probably the worst problem I could think of any pro wrestler, and that's his best wrestling is when he comes like a babyface. His best promo work is when he's working as a heel. He's absolute death because he's either sympathetic as a heel or he's detestable as a babyface, which worked in one setting I've seen in his entire career when he was supposed to be the babyface, and it worked because he was detestable, and that's the Christian feud where he's supposed to be trying to murder somebody, and the Christian matches aren't that good either. Or good, most of them. A lot of them are I struggle with them. All right, I like one of them. I think Randy Orton, his biggest failing is their failing of him. He's not just another heel. I think somebody should have very quickly noticed that Orton works very differently than anything else. And if the company wasn't so focused on everything else going on, John Cena, I think they would have done, and Batista, and Triple H, and The Undertaker, and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, all these fucking different names. I think somebody would have eventually noticed and started catering to him more and figuring out what works best for him. I think the biggest thing on Randy Orton is that he works very differently from a traditional heel wrestler because he works like a face. And it's this kind of terrible miscasting where I think you would need somebody to sit down with him and figure out how to make it work the best. And I think it's tough to call him the most overpushed wrestler of all time. He probably does end up being the most overpushed wrestler of all time because 3 stars for all your top tier stuff when he's been main eventing for 10 years. I would even call it longer. Like, I would call
Well, just
it
give
15.
Cody Rhodes another 7 years, and he'll eventually get there.
He'll get there. But I just mean it's almost sad because obviously there's booking mistakes with him, but I think fundamentally the way they've road agented almost every single one of his matches on here is so wrong. And it sucks because he's clearly good and he could be great, but he needs help and nobody's helping him. Nobody is bothered to try to figure out how to make him more interesting. No, they did their best by, you're a charisma black hole. Let's make you a snake person, and then you don't have to show charisma, which was terrible. And I think that run in 2009 against Cena has formed a lot of people's opinion on him when they say he's super, super terrible, because he's not. They've just handled him possibly the worst of any wrestler I can think of. I would genuinely be I'd struggle to think of another wrestler aside from Chris Hero that, even then, they haven't used Chris Hero poorly. They just haven't pushed him at all or like really used him that much. Orton is...
I'm not his biggest fan, but I'm willing to throw Punk's hat into this ring. Even the good stuff was poorly chosen. A year as WWE champion would kill anybody.
That's true. Absolutely, he's there. I think Orton's worse, though, because it's 10 years of that. Even by your metric, it's 10 years of that. And
it might have been 10 if Punk didn't change something himself, though.
Yeah, but I can't live with what if, right?
Sure.
I can say he's poorly
7.
handled, but as a main eventer?
No. But
yeah. I'm sorry, I thought we were doing main event status. He wasn't a real main eventer, was he? No, I'm joking. But yeah, I think it's sad. I think the biggest takeaway for me from the Randy Orton story is it's really sad, because I think he had the potential to be a considerable amount more. It's just nobody cared enough to try to help him.
I want to let you finish, but I also want to...
That was my finish.
I know. No, what I mean is I want you to be like the last word on this, but like I want to put out there that nobody should be sad for Randy Orton.
No, he made tons of money. He was an asshole for the longest time. He's still an asshole depending on who you talk to. Fuck you, Randy Orton. You're a piece of shit. I don't feel bad for you, even though you have been misused terribly. You could have given me better wrestling matches, but I don't care. Go shit in somebody's bag, you fucking snake fuck. Thanks for watching.